From a rooftop, Derek watches his partner Sylvie prep a portal, who yells the mission briefing 30 seconds limited rescue time, while our boy Derek just chugs a drink totally unbothered, then hops down from his perch to get to work, smugly reminding her this is not his first rodeo saving her team, because his plan is simple: save the day, be back for dinner easy, and Sylvie is just asterisk thrilled with his professional attitude, as she finally rips open the dimensional gate, which is Derek's cue to power up into his full combat gear. He steps right into the swirling purple void, no hesitation. On the other side, it is a complete hellscape of fire and ruin, with demonic creatures overrunning the trapped hunters, and one of them can only wonder how it all went so wrong, because he is now protecting a fallen comrade totally surrounded, which brings us to years later where Derek is still haunted by this day. He remembers how it was supposed to be a simple mission, and how he should have learned not to play the hero, flashing back to the team yelling that the portal was closing. A desperate last stand where they were completely overrun, and he truly believed he was strong enough to save them all. Derek, ever the hero, ignores the closing portal to save his friend, while in the present he is still beating himself up for being an idiot. Back then, he was just trying to drag his wounded teammate to safety, promising they were just a few steps from the escape gate, a promise his future self knows was a complete and utter lie. Because at the last second, a demon skewers his friend right in front of him, and his face just says it all: total, absolute failure. To make matters worse, the portal is shrinking to a pinhole, which is why present-day Derek is still wondering why he even bothered. In the memory, he makes a desperate sprint for the closing gate, while a teammate on the other side screams for him to hurry. His armored hand lunges for the shimmering exit, only for the portal to snap shut right on his arm. He pulls back what is left of his gauntlet, completely stunned, this shock hitting him as he just stares at the damage. Meanwhile, the guy who held the portal open is equally baffled, and back in the present, Derek jolts awake from the memory, gasping for air. He collapses in some weird void, totally lost in his despair, wondering if he was just too weak or if someone betrayed him. But then he grabs his spear, trying to shake it off as just another nightmare. He is convinced Sylvie will open a portal for him any day now, and has been keeping track of the time, all several thousand years of it. But even his little tally marks are starting to fade away, as decades, maybe centuries, just blur together in this purple prison. So all he can do is meditate and train endlessly, just hoping one day he will actually see the sun again. When suddenly a weird alarm starts blaring out of nowhere, and Derek is understandably a little confused by this new development. A system window pops up with a big fat error message, saying he is moving out of the system's range, whatever that means. Our boy starts to panic, begging it not to do this to him, because the system is now telling him to get back in range ASAP. But it is too late, connection is officially lost. And he is just begging, crying for them not to take his only lifeline. In a fit of rage, he smashes the void, knowing there is no way out, his own body just torturing him by healing every single wound. Mentally, he is completely shattering into a million pieces, while the cracks in the void around him just disappear, leaving him to finally give up, begging for it all to end. He just floats there, totally lost, feeling himself break all over again. He finally lets himself slip into the darkness, completely giving up, until the void itself seems to call out to him with a sudden crack of light, and Derek snaps to attention, totally confused by the disturbance, deciding this is one call he is definitely going to answer. A fracture appears in his prison, a real, actual tear in reality, which has him wondering if he has finally lost his mind for good. But the reflection in his eye proves it is no hallucination. And for the first time in ages, this crack is not healing itself. With a surge of power, he vows to get the hell out of there, not even caring where this escape route might lead. So he jams his spear into the crack, prying it open with all his might, because literally anything, even death, is better than staying. What he sees on the other side, however, is not what he expected, and he is immediately greeted by a massive energy blast to the face. This impact sends him flying right back on his ass, confirming that nope, the pain is definitely not a hallucination. Then a roar echoes as something starts crawling through his new exit, and Derek notes its greeting is a little aggressive. This new visitor is all teeth and glowing red eyes, clearly not here to chat. So our boy decides it is time to teach it some manners the hard way. With a crazed grin, Derek realizes this is the perfect test of his true strength, and he dives straight at the beast, which is prepping a welcome to the neighborhood energy blast. But the monster's attack is useless as our boy just weaves through the chaos, showing off an agility he has not used in centuries while dodging the energy whips. Its blast just lights up the entire void in a massive explosion, which apparently had some friendly fire, sending its minions tumbling through the air. Towering over him, the beast gets an earful from Derek, who is clearly not impressed. And he is still trying to process if this is real, giving it a solid 50-50 shot. A moment of pure confusion hits him, his brain still trying to reboot, until he sees the blood on his own hand, a feeling he has not had in ages. With a grin, he revises his estimate. Yep, this is 100% real. and the pain actually snaps him back to reality, deciding death is a pretty good escape plan. His opponent, meanwhile, is charging up a double dose of pain. So Derek plants his feet, cracking the very floor of his prison, because after centuries of being trapped, he finally has a real target. This monster seems pretty eager for this fight too, all teeth and rage. But having lost his sanity and his will to live, our boy has nothing left to lose. Zipping right past the energy ball, completely unfazed by the attack, he has pushed past every limit he ever had, basically daring the monster to kill him. And braces his spear against the incoming beam, ready for the final clash. Derek roars for the beast to either die or move, and just blasts straight through the void like a missile, using the floating debris as his personal parkour course, a completely unhinged grin plastered on his face. He lands a direct hit, literally punching his way out, soaring past the stunned monster towards his exit. And for the first time in millennia, he actually laughs. Bursting into the real world, screaming about his freedom. Meanwhile, some poor kid in a forest just saw a weird crack in the sky, who is now regretting his life choices while running for his life. A regret that gets asterisk way worse when he trips right off a cliff, his face a perfect picture of, well, this is it. This fall is just comically long, giving him plenty of time to think, only to land right in front of a monster that wants a snack, which lunges at him with absolutely zero chill. And the kid can only scramble backwards, slipping on the wet rock, as the beast closes in for the final bite, leaving him screaming for anyone to save him from this mess. He somehow makes it to the water, shocked that he is still breathing, until a new, much bigger light appears in the sky, making him wonder what fresh hell this is. A massive beam of energy crashes down from the sky, making a grand entrance right in front of the terrified kid, who is already having a bad day after barely escaping a wolf, and now he is face to face with what he thinks is a demon. Derek, meanwhile, gets a brand new error message about an invading system, which is just adding a whole new layer of confusion to his escape, because a purple vortex suddenly opens up above them, and our boy is immediately getting sucked right back into the sky. While the poor kid just hangs on for dear life, his luck is just incredible. Then a giant laser beam just blasts down from the heavens, knocking Derek out cold in the middle of a crater. Nearby, the wolf the kid mentioned shakes itself off, looking pretty beat up, its glowing eyes locking onto our unconscious hero, who is now looking like a very easy, very available meal. Inside his head, Derek's reliving the trauma of being trapped in the void, his entire sense of self just shattering into pieces, questioning if his system was even real or if his home ever existed. Wondering if this whole escape was just another dream, he gets a rude awakening when the wolf starts chewing on his arm. Derek's first reaction to being eaten alive is to ask for 5 more minutes of sleep, while the wolf is just trying to enjoy its heavily armored meal in peace. But our boy just keeps laughing, complaining that the mauling tickles, which is really starting to frustrate the monster trying to kill him. Finally, his eyes snap open, and he has had enough of this rude awakening. Grabbing the wolf by the throat and hoisting it into the air with zero effort. Watching from the bushes, the kid is pretty sure he has just met a demon, and Derek's completely unhinged expression is not helping his case. Then he decides this terrifying beast is actually a puppy he wants to adopt, even starting to inspect its little paws, much to the wolf's horror. This poor thing just whimpers and bolts the second he lets go, as Derek finally takes a look around this very morbid-looking forest. He still thinks it is beautiful though, shushing his new pet to enjoy the quiet, because nothing says scenic route like a bunch of animal skeletons. Now in some fresh clothes, he finally accepts this whole escape was not a dream, and notices his system is back, though it seems to have been wiped. His new stat sheet shows he is level 0, but with stats that are absolutely broken. A quick check confirms his skills are still there, thankfully. And he unleashes a casual energy slash just to test things out. His new pet is unsurprisingly not a fan of the light show. In his head, he is just spamming skills like a total madman, but back in reality, his powers are just giving him a massive headache. He remembers that weird invading system error from before, and now he is wondering if his old system somehow merged with a new one. Our boy is just trying to figure out where the hell he even is. When the classic sound of a twig snapping breaks the silence, he immediately whips around, demanding to know who is there. Finding the kid from earlier, who is now begging for his life on the forest floor, Derek just stares, completely unimpressed by the dramatics. This kid Thomas slowly realizes he is not about to be eaten, and Derek's genuinely offended. What about him screams, "Man-eating demon." His new puppy then decides to lunge at the kid. So Derek immediately scolds it, which just convinces Thomas he has met a lunatic. After a very awkward introduction, he finally gets the kid's name, Thomas. He then asks why Thomas is so scared of this little guy who is clearly a monster. Thomas explains you cannot even use the system until you are 13 and get a kill. A light bulb goes off in Derek's head, a very, very bad light bulb. His poor pet seems to realize exactly what is about to happen, and Derek just casually snaps its neck without a second thought. Thomas is horrified, but Derek just calls him naive for thinking it was ever a pet. This wolf's corpse hits the ground, a pretty gruesome welcome to the neighborhood gift, and Derek just tells the kid he did him a favor since that thing was level 53. When suddenly a tidal wave of system alerts floods his vision, he is leveling up like crazy, which our boy is absolutely loving, laughing his head off at the power boost. But then some new, angry-looking red windows pop up, which is a bit confusing. And these alerts are all about a threat being suppressed, not eliminated. He puts two and two together. The new system tried to delete his old one and failed spectacularly, which means as he smugly realizes he now has two of them. At that moment, Thomas's stomach lets out a roar loud enough to shake the trees, leaving the kid looking absolutely mortified, blushing up a storm. Derek just asks if he is hungry and Thomas admits he is starving. So naturally, Derek summons a massive bonfire to solve the problem, and now they are roasting the monster wolf for dinner because of course they are. He even offers the kid a bottle of glowing magic water, which Thomas chugs down like his life depends on it, earning a warning from Derek. This kid stops mid-gulp, finally processing the absolute weirdness of his day. While Derek's trying to figure out how to access his old system's meditation skill, his brilliant idea is to just buy it from the new system for one skill point, and immediately a new message appears. His dormant skill is merging with the new one. This result is Derek getting zapped by lightning, much to Thomas's utter confusion. This system confirms the merge was a success, though Derek feels like his veins were just on fire. But hey, his meditation skill just jumped to level 20 and evolved, so that is a win. Which means all his old skills are still there, just waiting to be unlocked. Turns out the new system only suppressed the threat of his old one, it did not delete it. Total failure. A truly wicked grin spreads across his face as he realizes he's going to be even more broken than before. Later, Thomas is having a panic attack about using magic clippers while they are on the move. While our boy just carries him on his shoulders, telling him the clippers do all the work. Derek then reminds him of their little deal, info about this world in exchange for a safe trip home. Thomas finally gives in, looking like he is about to start a very depressing lecture. He explains that a great system rules everything, which his grandpa claimed was fair to all, and everyone should be grateful for the classes and skills it provides, but that is a complete lie. In reality, the system is rigged to favor the powerful, like the king and his nobles. They use it to get strong and then keep everyone else down, literally holding them in chains, finding every possible loophole to widen the gap, like killing caged monsters for easy levels. Thomas gets so angry telling the story that he starts hacking away at Derek's hair, revealing that because of the nobles, his parents are gone. He accidentally nicks Derek, who yelps, and the kid immediately starts begging for his life again. Derek just tells him to relax. He will not kill him until after he sees how bad the haircut is. After checking out his new look in a mirror, he congratulates Thomas on getting to live, and as a new day dawns, he tries to wake the kid up. Derek gives the kid a gentle shake to wake him from his nap, and now they have arrived at a very unwelcoming-looking crossroads. So he asks Thomas which of these busted signs points to his village. This kid, still half asleep, mumbles that he is from Raynasville, when suddenly Derek's eyes go wide with alarm. Thomas immediately leaps off his shoulders, sprinting and yelling for a Mr. Jones. He runs right past a trail of dismembered bodies, always a good omen. Bursting through a doorway, he keeps calling out, not quite getting the hint, and finds Mr. Jones on the floor, very dead. Yeah, that is a guy who has officially retired from all future activities. Thomas just stares in absolute horror, his day getting progressively worse. Derek places a hand on his shoulder, a surprisingly gentle gesture. He asks if this was the grandpa, but Thomas says he was just a nice old man. This kid is panicking, saying this should not be possible. The man was nearly level 30. To which Derek asks if level 30 is supposed to be strong, the absolute savage. Thomas loses it, screaming that nothing in the forest should have been able to touch him. Our boy just crosses his arms and asks, "Are you sure?" He then casually drops that the wolf he killed earlier was level 53. Thomas immediately calls him a liar, refusing to believe it is possible, until the horrifying realization hits he has to get home and warn his chief now. Derek has a sinking feeling, what if the kid does not even have a home to go back to? Meanwhile, somewhere else in this nightmare forest, a strange green orb just hangs in the air. It hums with an eerie, almost inviting energy, attracting a very beat-up-looking zombie wolf. This creature gives it a curious sniff, probably its last mistake, because this poor thing already looks like it has had the worst day ever. It is clearly hungry, but it is about to become someone else's lunch, as a massive spectral lick just materializes right behind it. This lick immediately slams its hand down, crushing the wolf in a single blow. This whole forest seems to shudder from the sheer force of the attack, and our new skull-faced friend is just drooling with satisfaction. Lovely. This thing is a walking collection of skulls and bad vibes. Then we cut to a sunny, peaceful village, a total mood whiplash. A young girl is carrying a basket full of, well, monster bits. Her mother asks if she can handle the heavy load. And the kid, Brandy, proudly says she can now that she has the system. Mom is super proud, even as her daughter is visibly trembling with the effort. They walk home talking about getting some leather from her dad's hunt, which gets Brandy absolutely hyped to level up her leatherworking skill. This mother just smiles, thinking maybe she can even help with the skinning, a wholesome family activity. This mom is horrified by the idea of skinning something. And with pure dread, she asks if Brandy means the animal. We flash back 2 weeks to her dad's big coming-of-age speech, where he proudly presents her with a level 10 monster to kill, which turns out to be an adorable, flower-sniffing, fluffy fox. After the deed is done, Brandy is completely traumatized, so much for that skill point. Mom just tells her she will get used to it, while also roasting Dad for picking the cutest victim imaginable. A tense moment passes between them, the happy family vibe officially dead, when suddenly the village is on fire and a guard is screaming for them to run. Her dad, Travis, appears, confirming a massive beast attack way stronger than usual. He is already wounded, clutching a nasty gash in his side, and tells Brandy to do whatever her mother says, no questions asked. Travis stays behind to hold the line, ordering his wife to get their daughter out now. With a final "I love you," he watches them run for their lives, as their entire village goes up in a sea of flames. While fleeing, Brandy asks if her dad will be okay, and her mom tries to sound convincing. Desperately clinging to the hope that he will make it back to them, they meet up with their chief, who tells the survivors to head for Raina's village, giving a very unconvincing thumbs up and promising the hunters will catch up. Mallory holds her daughter close, trying to pretend everything is going to be fine. Meanwhile, back with Brandy's group, a massive wolf paw slams into the ground, and one of the hunters turns around with a very appropriate "oh crap," because a snarling monster is right on top of him, ready to pounce. This wolves just tear through the village defenders like they are nothing, forcing Mallory and the other survivors to run past the carnage. She glances back in absolute horror at the slaughter. And these are not just any wolves, they are rabid, with one's brain literally exposed. Their escape route is suddenly blocked by another pack of the monsters, so Mallory desperately tells Brandy to run, but the kid is frozen stiff. As a wolf lunges, her mom screams at her to get moving now, but Brandy is just paralyzed with fear, completely shutting down. Mallory shoves her daughter out of the way, taking the full force of the attack. This wolves immediately swarm her, and it is not a pleasant sight. Her only thought is to hold them off long enough for Brandy to escape, and once her daughter is safe, she can finally let herself die. Brandy flees, tears streaming down her face, not daring to look back. This kid is completely broken, having lost both parents in a single day. In her blind panic, she runs right into a tall, armored stranger, and a voice asks if she and the wolves would like some help. It is Derek, with Thomas on his shoulders, offering to reduce their experience. What a hero. A hunter finally reaches Brandy, hugging her and asking if she is okay, but the kid just begs him to save her mom, who is still fighting for her life. Derek, ever the hero, just casually says okay and flicks his finger, firing off a literal finger gun beam of light, which zips past the survivors and nails the wolf attacking them. This hunter is just left standing there, completely baffled by what just happened. Surrounded by the remaining wolves, Derek taunts them about getting some good experience, but the hunter immediately screams at him to stop messing around and just kill them. With a smug grin, Derek cracks his knuckles, saying this is gonna be fun. This wolves take the bait and all three lunge at him at once. His eyes start to glow, signaling it is time to get serious. Derek catches the first wolf's paw midair and just crushes it, and as another one leaps to attack, he prepares to counter. He effortlessly dodges, letting the monster crash right into the ground, while his hand starts glowing with some serious power, and he proceeds to punch a hole straight through a wolf's chest. This guy is just a blur of motion, flipping through the air like a gymnast of death, then stabs another one right through the face with his bare hand. His eyes are blazing with power as he finishes the job, only to stand over the bodies and declare he was wrong. That was not any fun at all. Derek casually remarks that the wolves were pathetically weak, while Brandy and her mother have a tearful, blood-soaked reunion. This kid worries about her dad, but her mom insists he is strong enough, though she knows he is nothing compared to the stranger who just saved them. Staring in awe, she thanks Derek and asks just who the hell he is. And he just says he is taking a kid home, offering to let them tag along with his useless guide. Thomas immediately panics, reminding him about their village, but Derek shuts him down, saying he only promised to help asterisk him. He then drops the bomb that their village is probably already gone anyway. One of the survivors asks what he means, wondering if the Grace Falls sent him, to which Derek just gives a confused no, completely out of the loop. Thomas grabs his arm, begging him to help because people might still be alive, and Derek just stares down, asking if Thomas means him specifically. Clarifying that this is a me problem, not a we problem, he lays out their contract, a life for information, nothing more. Then he asks Thomas if he knows the secret to his survival, revealing in a dark flashback that he only ever relies on himself. His eyes glow as he states he does not go out of his way to be a hero. Because every time he has meddled in others' business, it has ended in disaster. Thomas just grits his teeth, absolutely powerless against this cold logic. Thomas screams that none of that matters. With his power, he should help people, and Derek just scoffs, calling his logic painfully childish. So Thomas starts smacking him, which has the impact of a gentle breeze. Crying out in frustration, he just calls Derek an asshole, to which our boy calmly agrees. Exactly, I am an asshole. He explains that in a world where heroes die, being an asshole is how you survive. Grabbing the kid's wrist, he easily stops the tantrum, telling him to be an asshole first, get strong, and then be a hero, because that is the only way to make it out alive in this world. It is a harsh lesson, Derek admits, one so ingrained he sometimes forgets that it is okay to break his own damn rules once in a while. Then he just casually lifts Thomas onto his shoulders, leaving the kid completely baffled by the sudden piggyback ride. With a new determination, Derek declares they are going to save what is left of the village. Thomas is just stunned silent by this complete 180, left to process this as embers from the destruction float by. Meanwhile, back in the village, a massive beast is on a rampage, and a lone hunter who looks a lot like Brandy's dad stands against it. This hulking, rabid bear monster roars, lunging forward to attack. As the hunter braces his spear to meet the crushing blow, Derek and Thomas walk through the smoldering ruins of the village, taking a grim tour of the dead, a lesson Derek clearly wants Thomas to learn. He asks if the kid understands now, because this is the price of being weak. Thomas finally gets it. This is not a rescue, it is a body count. Suddenly, he stops Derek, thinking he heard another beast nearby, but our boy just tells him to wait, listening to a faint groan from the rubble. His eyes narrow, completely focused on the sound, and it is Chief Leon pinned and bleeding under a massive chunk of a building. Thomas immediately sprints forward, but Derek yells at him to get back. This chief is shocked to see the kid, who insists they came to help. His gaze then falls on a nearby body, asking if that is Brandy's dad, and a close-up confirms it is Travis. He fought bravely, but he is gone. Looking at the corpse, the chief grimly states that nobody is making it out of this. He explains they do not have a healer powerful enough for these kinds of wounds. Derek considers this, knowing he has a resurrection potion in his storage bracelet, but his inner asshole immediately vetoes the idea. He is not catching a case of heroism. As Thomas confirms the body is Brandy's dad, Derek admits their asterisk is asterisk something he could do, telling the survivors to say their last goodbyes, promising he will be right back. Mallory just watches, completely broken by the sight of her husband, and Brandy kneels over her father, begging his body not to leave her. In a final memory, Travis reaches out, his last thought on Brandy, telling his wife to be strong for their daughter with his dying breath. This family is left to grieve over the body in the smoldering ruins, and Brandy just sobs, begging her father not to be gone. Mallory lets out a scream of pure, unfiltered anguish. Then we get a sudden, peaceful shot of a river. Talk about tonal whiplash. Derek, ever the charmer, says they should leave once the goodbyes are done, which leaves Thomas just gutted, watching this tragedy unfold. Our boy's idea of comfort is telling the kid he will get used to it. Wow, this hunter has had enough, grabbing Derek's arm and calling him out, getting right in his face and demanding to know who the hell he is, and why he should let Thomas go with some random, callous stranger. Derek, of course, just stares back, completely unbothered by the confrontation. But Thomas actually steps in, telling the hunter that Derek is right, revealing that he has also lost people when his parents never came home. In a heartbreaking flashback, he admits he is jealous they even got to say goodbye. So the three of them walk away, leaving the burning village behind them. With the mood at an all-time low, Derek decides to check his system notifications and sees he has finally hit level 10, which means it is time to pick a class. He swipes through the options, his jaw on the floor. These choices are insane. First up is Shadow Brawler, a classic edgy choice for the discerning assassin, followed by Chaos Glaive, which is basically edgy but with a big stick, and then Eternal Guardian for anyone who wants to summon a majestic fire chicken, leaving Derek completely stumped on how to pick just one. But as he is scrolling, something makes him pause. He gets a sudden, jarring flash of the hunter carrying a dead bear, which leaves him completely rattled, wondering what the hell that was. And then a hidden class appears, Champion of the Void. He is instantly pulled into a memory of that endless, hungry darkness, remembering it was not a teacher or an ally. It was a brutal master that shattered him over and over again, a force that broke him, consumed him, and left him with nothing. But surviving it gave him the one thing that mattered: control. This void did not choose him, he became the void, and now the choice is his. So he accepts, and a torrent of cosmic power slams right into him. Back in reality, he is floating midair, crackling with purple lightning, and Leon immediately grabs Thomas, yelling that it is not safe, while Derek just smirks, checking out his two new void skills, then casually starts forming a miniature black hole in his hands, and just as suddenly the power recedes, leaving everyone staring in shock. With his new class, Derek tries out a skill called Void Call, and a massive purple death beam immediately slams down from the sky. Leon grabs Thomas and runs, begging the great system for help. A bit late for that, buddy. But the energy just swirls around Derek, who is looking way too comfortable, absolutely loving this power trip with a grin that screams unstable. That beam of pure void continues to tear up the already ruined landscape, leaving Leon and Thomas staring in total disbelief at what Derek's become. Even Brandy and her mother watch from the rubble, completely lost. This impact carves a smoking crater right into the middle of the village, and Derek looks up, sensing something coming through the portal he just opened. It is a massive void beast descending right on top of them. Our boy just stares, completely blown away by his own handiwork. Leon turns to Thomas, basically asking where the hell he found this lunatic. While the grieving family can only watch the chaos unfold, Derek is practically vibrating with excitement. He gets his very own summon. A hulking, multi-eyed nightmare crashes down right in front of him, and he immediately decides to name it Asher because sure, why not? He then critiques its size like he is picking out a new car, which sends Leon into a full-blown panic, thinking Derek is insane. But Thomas just calmly says he thinks Derek can control it, as our boy tells the monster to sit. And the monster actually listens, slamming its giant hand down on command, which comes crashing down with enough force to shake the entire area, sending Leon into a full-blown panic as he shields Thomas from the impact. This ground just shatters under the sheer weight of Derek's new pet, when suddenly a new guy in armor shows up, vowing to kill Asher. Asher, for its part, just stands there looking like a purple, spiky nightmare. While the armored dude, already bleeding, tells Leon and Thomas to get lost. As they flee, he powers up some kind of light-based weapon to face the beast, making it clear he does not want anyone getting in his way. He tries to use an identify skill, but the system just gives him an error message. Great start. Thinking back, he remembers barely even scratching a similar monster before, so he just rockets forward, determined to do better this time around. Leaping high into the air, he knows there is absolutely no room for error, getting right in the monster's face for a point-blank shot. He unleashes a massive blast of energy directly at its head, only for Asher to block it with its palm like it is catching a baseball. Our armored hero can only curse as his ultimate move gets completely shut down. Then the monster retaliates, swatting him with a beam of pure void energy, sending the guy flying and wondering what the hell just hit him. He is completely stunned, unable to process how impossibly fast the creature was. This armored dude gets absolutely blasted by a void beam, thinking not again, deja vu is a killer. He is sent flying across the ruins like a ragdoll, coughing up blood and looking like he seriously regrets his life choices. Lying in the dirt, he looks up to see Asher charging another attack, because of course it is. A second purple death laser slams down just to make sure he is really having a bad day. But our boy tries to resist, vowing this is not how it ends. Good luck with that. His health drops below 20%, forcing him to activate a meditation skill, desperately trying to push the monster off while getting his face smashed in. With his health at 19%, he goes for a last-ditch stab with his spear, only for Asher to just snatch the weapon away like it is taking candy from a baby. This beatdown continues, his health just ticking down with every slap. And we watch it plummet from 16% to 14% in about 2 seconds flat. Thomas can only watch in horror, screaming Derek's name, while Leon herds the terrified villagers away from the kaiju fight. Asher's hand crackles with power as the armored guy begs anyone to live. Then it forms a miniature sun of pure void energy, and our hero can only curse his fate. His regeneration just cannot keep up with the sheer amount of damage he is taking. And his health bar keeps dropping, now down to a measly 13%. As his armor starts to crack, he desperately searches for a way to fight back, when suddenly his eyes lock onto something, a potential game changer. This armored dude's system starts merging his skills mid-beatdown, and this power-up looks excruciatingly painful, by the way. Asher just slams him into the ground like a tent stake. But hey, his heavy weapons skill is now level 20, totally worth it. Derek's monster, however, is not impressed with his stat gains. With his new upgrade, the guy gets blasted back with even more force, and the two of them trade blows in a flurry of light and darkness. Our armored hero leaps back in, spear ready for another go, beaten and bloody, but his eyes are glowing with pure resolve. His spear clashes against Asher's hand in a desperate struggle, pushing with everything he has to try and break through its defense. But the monster's void-powered grip is just too strong, his blade will not cut. Realizing the void is nullifying his attacks, he decides on a new tactic, because if you cannot beat him, join him. Time to fight fire with void. He channels his own dark energy, infusing his entire spear with it, setting up a void-on-void showdown as man and monster face off. Then he drives the empowered spear straight into Asher's chest, and the impact creates a massive explosion of swirling purple energy. After the blast, our boy lands gracefully on the ground, thinking with blood dripping down his face that it is finally over. But the armored dude just stands over the corpse, calling it fun, a real charmer. This system rewards him with a new title and a bunch of level ups for his trouble, while somewhere much fancier there is a knock at a very ornate door. A messenger enters, telling his boss she needs to see this report immediately. It is about an abnormal portal signature, specifically a void beast news travels fast. He presents it to a red-haired woman who seems entirely unbothered by the news, and in fact she just calmly orders them to send a hunter to deal with it. Back in the woods, the surviving villagers are trudging along completely defeated. One of them suddenly spots a familiar face in the distance, and it is their chief finally returning with his family in tow. The survivors immediately ask about the others, desperate for good news. But the chief cannot even bring himself to speak. The guilt is just too much. He is absolutely shattered, clenching his jaw to hold it all in, his eyes filled with the agony of his failure to protect them. Finally, he breaks the news there is no home to go back to. This villagers can only stare in horror, their last hope completely gone. He is haunted by the faces of the dead, wishing he'd died alongside them. Just then, Thomas spots Derek and screams his name, totally relieved. Derek gets a hero's welcome, smugly asking if they really thought he was a goner. Thomas just stammers, overjoyed to see him alive. Guess he has forgiven the whole kaiju summoning thing. Derek approaches Brandy and her mom to offer his condolences, then reveals he stored her husband's body in his inventory, morbidly practical, I guess. They are both completely floored by this surprisingly thoughtful gesture. And the mother thanks him, looking genuinely grateful. Our boy just gives a stoic nod because he is too cool for words now. Later that night, the survivors make a grim little camp in the woods. Everyone's on edge, warned to stay close to the fire for safety, while the village chief just stares into the flames, completely broken. His eyes are just burning with the guilt of his failure, when Thomas finally asks Derek what the hell happened to the void beast. Derek casually lies that it hit him, realized it was pointless, and just flew off. Sure, buddy. This story does not quite track with the terrifying legends Thomas grew up with. And yeah, the reality was a little more intense than his campfire tale. Mallory even chimes in, saying that summoning and beating one is basically impossible, but Derek just shrugs it off, claiming he summoned a weak one. He then decides he is not using that skill again for a very long time, before declaring that legends are overrated with his mouth full. This next morning, Mallory rallies the troops to get moving toward a new town, so the whole sad caravan starts their long trek at sunrise, and little Brandy suddenly tugs on Derek's arm, getting his attention. Brandy shyly asks Derek if she can have some of his animals, specifying the ones in his bracelet she overheard him talking about, so he just pulls a rabbit out of thin air like it is no big deal. Sure, why not? He hands it over, promising the bigger ones later as she thanks him, then asks why she wants them as she cradles the little creature. A quick flashback shows her with her dad, who is clearly a hunter, and she tearfully explains she put her skill point into leatherworking to make armor, all to protect her father, who is now just a smiling memory. Her only goal was to keep everyone from getting hurt, and Derek looks genuinely somber. He promises her all the animals he has got, a small moment of kindness at sunset. Meanwhile, at the gates of a new town, someone is being a massive pain. This gatekeeper complaining about his bad day and not getting a scented bath, real problems, you know. He is flat out refusing to let the refugees in without proper identification, which sends Mallory into a rage, telling him to go find someone named Raina. But the guard is loving this power trip, calling it the most fun he has had all day. With the whole group stuck, someone nudges the chief to do something, but he is too broken, questioning if he can even call himself a chief anymore. Little Brandy even steps up to plead their case, saying they have lost everything, and the guard's response is a smug no, because of course it is. That is when Derek steps forward, eyes glowing, asking who exactly is going to enforce that rule. Derek's eyes glow as he asks what if he just breaks the rule. Mallory freaks out, thinking he is about to murder a noble, but the gatekeeper just smirks, practically begging him to try it. Trying to de-escalate, Mallory warns Derek that killing him would be a terrible idea, which just disappoints the guard, who is really hoping for some violence. With the gate slammed shut, Derek and Mallory are left outside, until someone new steps out, demanding to know what the commotion is about. It is Raina, the local chief, and some noble dude named Wallace. She asks Mallory what has happened, having heard reports of smoke from their village, and upon hearing the news, she immediately offers them sanctuary. Raina then turns to Wallace, telling him to leash his goons because the refugees are now under her protection. As the villagers are finally let in, she tells Mallory they will talk more at her home, whispering a warning to tread carefully because there is another beast in town. This old chief just watches her go, his expression as grim as ever. While Wallace confronts Raina, furious she is openly defying him. She calmly tells him his business is elsewhere and her place is here with her people, so he just loses it, threatening to crush her and everyone else like bugs. Her response is a deadpan no you will not, which leaves him completely stunned. Watching this all unfold, Derek considers his contract with Thomas fulfilled but thinks about staying. And yeah, he decides he is sticking around for a while. Raina invites Derek in, saying any friend of Mallory is welcome, and our boy cautiously agrees to join them inside. As he walks past, though, she suddenly stops him, because she can feel the absolutely insane aura rolling off of him. Elsewhere, Thomas's grandparents are anxiously waiting, his grandma losing her patience. This word relax is clearly not in her vocabulary right now, and she snaps that she cannot calm down while their grandson is still missing. A door creaks open at that exact moment, interrupting their argument. Reina enters and the grandmother immediately demands an explanation for the delay. Her angry expression completely vanishes when she sees who is there. As Thomas comes running in, yelling for his grandparents, it is an instant tearful reunion as his grandma scoops him up, completely overwhelmed with relief to see him alive. This whole family just collapses into a group hug, finally together again. Reina then steps forward with Derek, asking if that was important enough. Total mic drop. Derek and Thomas share a quick knowing smile. While the family is still smothering the kid with love, Derek tells everyone to take a seat, and the leaders all gather around the table for a serious debrief. Reina starts things off, telling Derek she heard he is the reason anyone survived, then bows her head, offering her eternal gratitude for his help. Thomas gets his hair ruffled by his grandpa in a super wholesome family moment, but Derek just brushes off the thanks, telling them to drop the sir, he is too cool for that. Reina, however, is all business, stating it is a chief's duty to protect her people, then slams her hands on the table, adding a big however. She warns Derek that if he is looking for payment, she has nothing to offer, explaining that her town is already stretched way too thin as it is. Meanwhile, that noble prick Wallace is living it up, bribing servants to leave him alone. What a guy. Our boy just grins, cheekily asking about payment like he did not just hear her, then clarifies that Thomas already paid the debt by helping him out first. With that settled, Derek tells them their real problem is what is happening in the forest, and Reina immediately leans in, demanding to know what he is talking about. Thinking back to his old system, Derek says he has an idea of what is going on. He drops the bomb on the whole room. It is a dungeon break. Time for a quick lesson on dungeons, the literal lifeblood of this world system, which are basically treasure-filled death traps full of power and danger. Each one a self-contained world designed to test and reward adventurers. But when a dungeon is left to fester without being cleared, it explodes into pure chaos, spilling monsters out into the real world, its raw power infecting the land and corrupting everything around it. And from that chaos, some truly nasty things start to emerge. Reina scoffs at the dungeon idea, but Derek asks who says new ones cannot just pop up, explaining that a remote dungeon spawning is rare but not unheard of. For Thomas's grandpa, that horrifying possibility suddenly makes perfect sense. Reina asks the old man for his opinion, and he agrees it is the only thing that fits. So she pulls out a map, asking Derek where exactly he is from. He just says, I am not, then tells them it is their problem to fix now. Our boy even suggests letting Wallace's goons handle it as he heads for the door, but Reina calls out, desperately trying to stop him from leaving, admitting they are completely broke and have nothing to offer him before formally pleading for his help to save her people. Derek just lets out an annoyed sigh, clearly over this whole hero gig. His answer is a simple, ice-cold no as he turns away. Thomas looks absolutely crushed by the blunt rejection, but then Derek calls for him to come along, which surprises everyone. He's got a promise to keep more animal pelts for little Brandy, and with that they are gone, leaving the council to stare at a closed door. This grandpa actually defends him, saying Derek is not wrong to refuse. Another leader agrees, though his delivery was harsh, and now they need a plan fast. Reina then turns to Leon, the chief from the destroyed village. She asks for his take on the man who saved them and then just walked out. Leon, the old chief, gives his grim assessment of the man who saved them. Listing off Derek's charming qualities, sarcastic Moody asks way too many questions. Reina just listens, prompting him to get to the point. And he drops the real bombshell, the guy can summon the void. Meanwhile, Derek and Thomas are walking through the village streets, with Derek asking where Brandy is since the town's not exactly huge. A sudden shout from a nearby alley cuts their conversation short, where one of Wallace's goons is trying to snatch a pelt from a kid. This goon yanks it free with a smug look, peak professionalism right there. She taunts the girl, saying Wallace is just looking for an excuse to mess with Reina, then drapes the pelt over her shoulder like she just won a prize. Of course, she immediately bumps into Derek, telling him to watch where he is going. And the second she turns around, her face just completely freezes in terror. With glowing eyes and an aura of pure doom, Derek simply says, "Pelt." Just then, a sword slams into the ground as backup arrives, and it is Wallace demanding justice for daring to lay a hand on a noble's associate. He is absolutely seething, telling Reina to move or heads will roll, but she steps right in front of them, forbidding any fighting in her village. Internally, she is losing it. The guy's been here less than a day and he is already causing trouble. And in that moment, she realizes Leon was 100% right to be wary of him. Thomas gives the pelt back to the crying girl, trying to calm her down, but Wallace is not having it, drawing his sword with a dramatic "so be it." Suddenly, Thomas grabs the goon's wrist, offering her up instead, and literally shoves her at Wallace's feet, saying he can have her. What a power move. Derek steps in, telling everyone he was leaving the village anyway, which completely blindsides Thomas, who cannot believe what he is hearing. A quick memory shows Derek telling the kid he will be back, so he better train hard, even giving Thomas a special tool to practice with while he is gone. His final instruction was a big one: do not unlock the system until he returns. Back in the present, Wallace just smirks, thinking he has got Derek cornered. But a vision flashes of all his goons laid out, completely defeated, as Derek gets right in his face, promising to make this simple for him. This threat is blunt: mess with the villagers again and you are dead. Wallace's crew is absolutely frozen, paralyzed by Derek's overwhelming presence, and everyone in the village feels it too. Raina, Thomas, all of them are stunned. Our boy is just radiating pure, unadulterated terror. A terrified Wallace orders his men to follow him, trying desperately to act tough. But one of his goons remembers what Thomas said about a high-level kill achievement. So the guy tails Derek into the forest, thinking he can use him to level up. And with a bow drawn, he is ready to put his genius idea into action. This will end well. Wallace's archer lines up the perfect shot, talking some serious trash from the trees, and with a confident snap, he lets the arrow fly. Meanwhile, Derek is just strolling along, complaining about needing to find a high-level monster, then decides now's a great time to finally distribute his 40 unspent stat points. As the arrow closes in, his eyes finally flick to the side, making the archer think he has only just now noticed the danger. But nope, Derek knew this clown was tailing him for over an hour. He casually blocks the arrow with his system windows while allocating his stats, the ultimate multitasker. This little power-up unlocks 2 achievements, Jack of All and Meat Shield, with huge bonuses. And our boy is absolutely thrilled about getting 2 free skills. He has got his priorities straight. This would-be assassin is having a complete meltdown, unable to believe he missed. Convinced it was a fluke, the guy decides to try again, thinking Derek did not even notice. So he fires off a second, magically charged arrow for good measure. Derek just swats it out of the air like a fly, not even bothering to look back. He finally turns, asking if the guy minds since he is in the middle of picking a new skill. This archer's brain completely short-circuits, realizing just how badly he messed up, and his feet are already moving, initiating a full-on tactical retreat, which involves him leaping from the branch, screaming "Nope." He is parkouring through the forest like his life depends on it, wondering what kind of monster he just attacked. Glancing back in terror, he desperately hopes he actually managed to lose him. Derek's just chilling in a tree, debating new skills while the archer has a meltdown below, and a massive tree branch nearly takes the guy's head off as he scrambles away. Then our boy is suddenly right behind him, still talking shop, peak intimidation tactics. As the archer desperately clings to another branch, trying to make a break for it, landing with a panicked look, realizing there is nowhere left to run. So he goes for broke, unleashing his big Deadeye's barrage attack. But Derek just stands there and roasts him for yelling out his skill name, so lame, and the whole branch explodes in a massive kaboom. This archer is panting for breath, leaning against a tree, thinking he actually did it. Staring into the smoke, desperately hoping he landed the final shot. Nope, Derek's just sitting on a higher branch, completely bored, with a casual almost. He then smacks the guy, explaining he already chose magic resistance, talk about bad timing. And with the lesson thoroughly taught, Derek just strolls off into the woods. Back at the village gate, a guard hears a groan, asking what happened to Joffrey, finding Wallace holding up the battered archer, demanding to know if Derek killed him. But Joffrey, looking absolutely wrecked, admits he could not even scratch the guy. That little revelation hits Wallace like a ton of bricks, the reality of his mistake sinking in, so he immediately orders his crew to pack their things. They are heading back to Torith, which prompts one of his men to ask if they are actually fleeing. But Wallace clarifies with a grim look, they are not fleeing, they are getting reinforcements. Deep in the woods, Derek starts testing out his identify skill, which immediately levels up after he scans a rock and a tree, very productive. His next target is a cute little creature hiding in the grass, and the system reveals it is a level 54 horned rabbit. Oh boy, our boy crouches down, asking what a little fella like him is doing out here, while the rabbit just stares back with its big, totally innocent eyes. Derek even says it is too cute to kill, what a softie, and then the bunny lunges right for his throat, glowing with pure rage. His chill demeanor vanishes as he dodges the furry missile, getting knocked back while the rabbit zips past him in a blur. This thing ricochets off a tree, looking absolutely furious now, flying back at him while screaming about what it ever did to deserve this, becoming a literal whirlwind of angry fluff and pointy horn. This close-up reveals a face of pure, unadulterated bunny vengeance, but Derek just smirks, asking if it is ready for round 2. As the rabbit lets out a growl, digging its paws into the dirt, He gives it the classic bring it on gesture, let us go. So the rabbit fires a freaking laser beam from its horn, forcing Derek to dodge a whole barrage of deadly energy blasts. Finally, he snatches the little monster right out of the air, its face pure shock. Derek holds the squirming bunny, calling it a little daredevil, and the tiny monster immediately bites his thumb, full-on rage mode. This system pops up with a whopping 26 damage, oh the humanity. He just laughs it off, completely unimpressed by the tickle. But then a sudden thought hits him and the smile vanishes. That tiny bite might be nothing to him, but it could have killed Thomas. Holding up the furious ball of fluff, he reconsiders his life choices. So he gently puts the psycho bunny down, deciding to just walk away. Our boy dismisses it, saying it is not even worth the XP, what an insult. Left behind, the rabbit is absolutely fuming, its pride shattered. Derek moves on, pulling up his skills to pick a new restorative ability, a smug little smile appearing as he browses the options. This system offers him three choices: Cure Toxin, Life Leech, or Rejuvenation. He immediately dismisses poison cures and weighs the pros of lifesteal. Then there is Rejuvenation, a targeted heal which seems pretty useful. After a moment of thought, he weighs self-healing versus helping others. His finger taps the screen, making a surprising choice, and he picks Rejuvenation, thinking of the villagers he just left behind. This triggers a wave of instant regret, wondering why he left for some stupid achievement. Standing alone in the woods, he finally asks himself what the hell is wrong with him. Derek grits his teeth, fighting his own decision, trying to justify leaving by saying he'd just endanger them. But his eyes flash with alarm as something approaches. And he gets absolutely decked by an unseen force. Stunned, he looks up to see his attacker, which is, of course, the Psycho Bunny, still holding a massive grudge. This little monster launches itself at him like a fluffy torpedo, only to fly right past and obliterate a giant wolf instead. This bunny's face is pure concentrated vengeance, leaving Derek to just watch, stunned, as the wolf gets shredded, and the blood-soaked rabbit hops back, making him question biology. He quickly concludes this bunny is a psychopath and an idiot. Our new friend just sits there looking terrifyingly adorable, so Derek just gives in, letting the murderfloof tag along. Now they are just strolling through the woods together, a perfect team. They even set up camp, roasting meat like old pals, while a quick flashback shows the bunny one-shotting a giant boar. Derek gives the grumpy little killer a well-earned head pat, and they chill by the fire, a truly bizarre friendship forming. Until the bunny suddenly zips off, sensing a new threat nearby. This next morning, Derek starts the day with a big dramatic stretch, and officially christens his new partner Murder Bunny. Time to move out. But the little psycho floof just sits there, refusing to budge an inch, making Derek turn back, completely confused by the sudden protest. They have apparently reached some kind of invisible line in the forest, a bunny border, and he realizes this is where they have to part ways. With an angry little stomp, the bunny makes it clear it is not going any further. Derek just waves it off, admitting nothing in this forest could beat it anyway, then turns to walk away, accepting their bizarre partnership is over. This sends him right back into a mental spiral, forcing himself to calm down, as the world warps into a dark void while he wrestles with his self-imposed isolation. He walks toward the light, reminding himself that being alone is his own choice. And just then a glowing green orb appears, pulling him from his thoughts. Wait, hold up, a completely different guy in a green shirt finds the orb and uses Identify. This system reveals it is a level 100 Undying dungeon, which sounds super safe. And he figures a high-level monster for his achievement is in there, but he is not feeling it. This guy's actually being smart, weighing the risk of getting trapped again. Deciding to head back, he mentions some nobles and Thomas, confirming this is a whole other plotline. He turns his back on the dungeon, calling the entire trip a total waste, only for a massive skeletal beast to erupt from the ground right behind him. This green shirt guy smirks at the skeletal beast, not even a little scared. System confirms it is a level 115 acidic ghoul, which is apparently great news. He whips out a massive spear, ready to vent some serious frustration. As the ghoul roars, he admits he just needs a glorified punching bag. This kid powers up with blue lightning, looking way too happy about this. His new punching bag lunges down, a blur of green and black malice, but he just stands his ground, meeting the charge head-on. One clean slice later, the ghoul is suddenly missing an arm. He is already taunting it, asking if that is really all it has got. With the limb dissolving, he complains that a level 100 plus should be tougher. That little bit of trash talk seems to have triggered something though. This ghoul erupts in a full-on red rage mode, roaring with power, forcing our guy to shield himself from the massive energy wave. Now powered up, the monster swings its remaining claw in a huge arc, and he slides back, barely dodging the devastating blow. This smirk is finally gone, replaced by a few scratches and a serious glare. He charges up his lightning again, admitting this is way more fun. Leaping into the air, he goes for a big overhead strike, only for the ghoul to counter with a massive glowing swipe of its own. He twists midair to dodge, his spear lighting up for the real fight. He parries a nasty acid swipe, not backing down an inch. then channels his own lightning for a devastating counterattack, launching himself at the ghoul as it fires a massive chest beam. But the monster is just getting started with the light show. And he is forced to block another bone-shattering blow. He is still trash-talking, asking if this is really level 115 material, which gets him a face full of acid for his trouble. And now he is just insulting the entire system. What a guy. His spear starts crackling with some serious power, and with a psycho grin he tells it not to make him laugh. This of course makes the ghoul absolutely lose its mind. So he fires a full-power lightning blast right back at it. This whole forest lights up from the sheer force of the attack, and just like that the ghoul is toast. Level up. Actually make that a few level ups and a shiny new achievement. He stands alone in the wreckage, mission accomplished. But the victory is a little soured by the sizzling acid everywhere, because his armor is now completely melted. Great. He decides to just store the ruined gear, a problem for future him. And now he is shirtless, lamenting his poor shopping choices back on Earth. He pulls out a spare tunic, already complaining about the fashion choices. And looking at his beat-up, shirtless self, he's got no other option. Meanwhile, it has been 2 weeks since Derek left Raina's village, where young Thomas is concentrating hard on a very important job. He is giving a villager a haircut with a modern electric razor. Because of course this fantasy world has cordless trimmers, why would not it? This customer checks out his fresh new fade in a handheld mirror. And he absolutely loves it, ready to be Thomas's walking advertisement. Brandy, on the other hand, is just sighing at the ridiculousness of it all. And when Thomas offers her a turn, she gives him a look that could kill. This kid immediately backs off, hands up in surrender, point taken. After she calms down, he asks if everything is okay, and Brandy admits she has run through all the monster hides Derek left them. Her supplies are completely depleted and she needs him to come back with more. Thomas then mentions he is finally old enough to unlock his system, which makes Brandy recall his grandpa's plan involving a frog. He explains he refused because the frog was too low level and he is waiting for Derek. They both look out at the horizon, confident their friend will return with something better. Then the scene cuts to a different village, completely destroyed and silent, as a cloaked figure steps into the desolate ruins. This cloaked person finds traces of dark energy on the ground. Identifying the residue of a void beast, something big went down here. But he senses a second power signature, realizing someone else killed it, and the trail of that energy leads off into the distance. So he takes off at high speed, heading for the other village. Meanwhile, our shirtless no more ghoul slayer is walking through the woods. Still thinking about that high-level dungeon he decided to skip, he suddenly stops in his tracks, sensing a presence nearby. And it is Murder Bunny just sitting there, apparently waiting for him. This little psycho gives an angry stomp, clearly making a demand. Our guy just smirks, asking if it waited because it likes him. What an ego. When the bunny launches itself at him, he just snags it midair and starts lecturing it about a promise to bring back a high-level monster. With a terrifying grin, he suggests the bunny is the perfect candidate, which makes the little murder machine break out in a cold sweat for once. He lays down the rules. It can tag along in the forest, but no village visits. And the bunny gets so mad a little devil tail pops out. It does not like being told what to do. This guy just sighs, already exhausted by this creature's attitude. Giving in completely, he just sets the little monster down, then tells the idiot to follow him and they are off. Our guy decides he is tired of calling his partner idiot, and the little psycho seems thrilled by the idea of a new name. So he starts spitballing ideas like Snowball or Bella, which earns him a face full of blood and a hard nope, because this thing just soloed a level 59 undead bear for fun. Even Beelzebunny gets tossed out as they watch the sunset, until finally inspiration strikes with a triumphant grin. He gets down on one knee for a full-on naming ceremony, and officially christens the blood-soaked murder floof Sylvie. With that settled, he tells Sylvie it is time to go headbutt more stuff. A week later, they are finally approaching the village, and he has got a brand new, terrified-looking chipmunk for Thomas. He lays down the law. Sylvie absolutely cannot enter the village, telling it to wait in the forest for a few days until he returns. If it is still around, they can team up again, a threat and a promise all in one. He gets weirdly sentimental with the chipmunk, wiping its face, which prompts Sylvie to headbutt a tree into splinters right next to his head. Stunned, he just screams at the psychopath to stay put, now regretting he did not just let Thomas kill the bunny instead of this chipmunk. Putting all that chaos behind him, he waves to the guard at the village gate. This guard on the wall demands to know who he is. But Derek just tells him not to bother with the gate, crouching down, and then leaps clean over the entire wall, shocking the poor guy. He lands perfectly on the walkway, not even breaking a sweat. Catching the guard, who stumbles back in total surprise. Our boy steadies him and compliments the fresh haircut. What a guy. Then he just hops down inside the village like it is nothing at all. Derek immediately calls out for Thomas, announcing his grand return, and the kid comes sprinting out to meet him, almost wiping out a bystander. Brandy is right on his heels, just as excited to see Derek's back. They both start talking a mile a minute, bragging about their new skills. and immediately start asking for more stuff, hides for her, a knife for him. Thomas is desperately seeking approval, making Derek pull a seriously pained smile. Not to be outdone, Brandy shoves Thomas aside to get her turn, which somehow results in both of them giving each other bloody noses. Derek just sighs, pinching their noses to stop the chaos for a second. He confirms he brought Brandy a knife and plenty of hides to work with, promising a special project if she can hit level 10 in her skill. Turning to Thomas, he asks if the kid's ready for his own challenge, because he brought back something special, rustling in a little bag. Thomas is practically in tears, accepting the deal to unlock his system tomorrow. Both kids are absolutely thrilled with the plan, jumping for joy. But Derek holds the gifts hostage, demanding to know if the village has a tavern, and just like that, he is pushing open the door to the local pub. Our boy takes a deep, dramatic sniff, the smell of home. He strides in with one simple hope, that the beer here does not suck. While lost in his thoughts, he bumps right into someone, and the collision snaps him out of it, looking up in surprise. He offers a quick apology to a cloaked and masked patron, beer in hand. Suddenly, he feels a familiar, dangerous energy coming off the guy. It is the tracker from before, his glowing eye locking right onto Derek. This cloaked man demands to know who he is as Derek sizes him up. This tracker then clarifies that Derek is the what he has been hunting. With zero chill, he asks if Derek is a void beast, which is a bold opener. Derek hits him with peak sarcasm, confirming he is in fact not a monster. Playing dumb, he denies knowing anything about any void energy, looking annoyed. This questions keep coming, where he is from, what his level is. This tracker is not buying it for a second, pointing and calling him a liar. Then he just grabs Derek's wrist, escalating things fast. Derek stares him down, basically daring him to make a move. This tracker's eye flares up, hitting Derek with an identify skill, trying to scan our boy's stats right in the middle of the tavern, and he gets a big fat identify failed for his troubles. How embarrassing. Derek just points to the bar, asking if he can asterisk please get his beer now. Where the bartender already knows his name, seems Derek's got a reputation. In the background, the tracker is panicking, realizing Derek must be the one who killed the beast. While the tracker makes a hasty exit, Derek just orders a pint from the bartender, Bart. He watches the guy leave, figuring that whole confrontation is probably over for good. Bart slides him a beer, only for Derek to admit he has 0 coin on him. So he slaps down a level 52 badger pelt, and Bart's eyes just about pop out of his head. As Bart offers him a room on the house, another person steps into the tavern, and it is Brandy, here to interrupt the proceedings with a very serious look. Turns out she told Bart to offer Derek a place to stay as payment for all the hides. Her closing argument: I am making stew, an offer no sane adventurer could refuse. With that settled, they head out into the village, Derek finally enjoying his beer. She immediately asks what that hunter wanted, but Derek just plays it cool, saying it was nothing. Brandy's not convinced, warning him that guy works for the crown, which sounds important. Our boy just takes a sip, asking if she means the kingdom, like the actual government. She explains the crown is a super powerful organization, but not officially part of the kingdom, and their crest has a fork and knife because they are technically a restaurant, but she warns him not to let that fool him. She explains the crown has massive influence and membership is a noble's dream, with only the absolute richest and most powerful people allowed to dine there. And their most precious delicacy, she reveals with a smirk, is a freaking void beast served on a platter. Derek does a full-on spit take. They eat those things. Apparently, eating one gives you insane stat bonuses, and gifting one is a golden ticket in. Our boy scoffs that some must be weak, but she clarifies even the runts can destroy a village. Plus, they're super rare, only coming from portals that freak everyone out. A quick flashback shows exactly why people are so terrified of them, and she gives him a very pointed look, saying she is sure he already knew all this. Derek just sweats, totally caught in his lie about knowing nothing. He just mutters a yeah, and they head off, conversation over. Later that evening, they arrive at a cozy-looking house filled with laughter, where Derek is absolutely inhaling a bowl of stew, 0 manners, all hunger. He slams the empty bowl down, calling it the best food he has had in years. Brandy gets all flustered, saying her cooking skill is only level 8, but everyone else is loving it. An older woman agrees it is delicious, which almost gets her husband murdered when he compares it to someone else's food. Thomas, meanwhile, is practically vibrating, asking if tomorrow's the big day for his system unlock. Derek gives a cool nod, confirming the deal as long as the grandparents approve, and the grandparents are all in, saying it would be cruel to deny him now. Thomas is absolutely losing his mind with pure, unadulterated joy, but Derek hits him with the classic one more thing, instantly killing the mood. His one condition is just a warm bath, a surprisingly normal request. Relieved, Thomas practically leaps out of his chair to get it ready, and the rest of the family just chuckles at how single-minded the kid is. Our boy takes a quiet moment staring out the window at the sunset until Brandy pokes him, snapping him out of his thoughts. She's got something for him, a little gift she made herself, holding out a small, crafted token of her thanks. A quick flashback reveals she was lost after her dad's death and his gift helped her cope. Touched, Derek accepts it with a genuine smile, thanking her for the gesture. Meanwhile, the house is full of life as Thomas gets the bath water going. Looking down at the gift, he feels a sense of connection he has not had in ages. For a moment, it feels like he has truly escaped the void until Thomas yells for help. That kid just bolts out of the house at top speed, heading for the woods. Derek casually snags him mid-stride, flipping him over his shoulder like it is nothing. After a few superpowered leaps, he lands them in a clearing. He sets the kid down, his expression turning serious for the big moment. With eyes wide, Thomas confirms he is ready to finally get his system. With a final warning, Derek hands him the knife to begin the trial. Derek opens the bag, ready for the big reveal. With a smirk, he gives Thomas a simple, terrifying instruction: kill it. This kid grips the new knife, ready for whatever comes next. And just like that, a pillar of light confirms it. Thomas has unlocked the system. Derek casually inspects the now bloody knife, asking how the kid's feeling, and Thomas is just freaking out, saying he killed something over level 50. Our boy explains the knife is a custom job from his personal smith, only the best. But before they go any further, Derek has a very important question, confirming Thomas's goal is to leave home and grow powerful. In a rare moment of vulnerability, he admits he is tired of being alone and invites Thomas along. This kid is absolutely floored by the offer to travel with his hero, his brain just short-circuiting, thinking about adventure and his grandparents' reaction. After a moment, he tries to play it cool, saying he does not see why not. So Derek lays down the first rule: what you see you keep to yourself. Thomas immediately swears a life oath, which Derek finds a little extra. Rule number 2 is simple: train hard and pull your own weight. And the final rule is the most important: unquestioning obedience. This kid hesitates for a second, realizing the weight of that last command. Derek clarifies he is not evil, just morally flexible, and his orders have a purpose. With his mind made up, Thomas accepts the deal, ready for the journey ahead. With a firm handshake, Derek officially welcomes his new, very tiny apprentice. And their first training session is just chilling in a field, talking skill points, where Derek immediately informs Thomas he is about to lose most of them. Welcome to the party, kid. He orders him to spec into meditation and identify, no complaints allowed, explaining that these boring skills are actually game changers for survival. But Thomas is still whining that they have zero cool factor whatsoever. To shut him up, Derek lets him spend his last point on something exciting. And the kid immediately wants to be a super fast assassin. Of course he does. A single click later and his path is set. Light weapons mastery it is. Next, all stat points get dumped into vitality and endurance if he wants to keep up, which prompts Thomas to ask if he's getting a piggyback ride home. Bless his heart. Derek's answer is to just bolt, leaving the kid completely in his dust, yelling back that it is a race and Thomas is already losing. Tough love at its finest. Back at the house, Thomas is just a panting heap on the floor, totally exhausted. Meanwhile, the mood at the dinner table turns grim as someone taps the wood, and it is Derek delivering the chilling news that they will die. Brandy asks what he means, and he explains the guild request he sent for level 50 adventurers. Before dropping the real bomb, the dungeon he found is not for them, it is level 100. This entire family is just floored, staring in total disbelief. Until the other man realizes the terrifying truth. They do not need silver rank, they need gold. This man pivots, now needing gold-ranked heroes, and asks Derek for a map of the area. And with a quick command, Grandpa sends Thomas zipping off to fetch it, where they lay out the local geography, pointing out the village and all the known dungeons. With one dungeon's notes being super specific: 25 insects, support skills needed, 16 people max. Derek immediately pinpoints the location of the undead dungeon he found, asking for permission to add his own notes, which the old man happily grants. So he marks the new dungeon location and asks to make a copy for himself. Smart move. After making his copy, he hands it to Brandy, but then hits her with a question, casually scanning her and asking why she is only level 31 with all this XP just lying around. Her excuse is a rare class Tempest Blade, which apparently levels at a snail's pace. Plus, as village chief, she has got no time to grind on low-level mobs for pocket change XP. And to top it all off, the village-made weapons break against anything remotely tough. His attention is drawn to a very specific, ornate sword on the wall, so he just says catch, yanking the sword off the wall and tossing it right at her. Then invites her to train with him and Thomas, which is clearly news to Thomas. This sword is hers if she agrees, and he casually asks if she can use magic. And she is totally stunned. He'd just hand over a priceless weapon like it is nothing. But that is all it takes. With a firm nod, she is in. With the deal sealed, he heads off to see his new friend Bart, leaving a hyped-up Thomas behind. And meanwhile, in some fancy, gothic-looking room, a knight is pleading with their father for reinforcements. This fancy-looking father is absolutely roasting his son for bullying a tiny village, pointing out they had to hire silver rank adventurers to clean up his mess, and he is not having any more embarrassment ordering his son back there immediately. But the night Wallace tries to protest, which gets him completely shut down with a final non-negotiable go. Wallace is just seething, totally humiliated by the command, and with a sharp turn he heads for the door, muttering that he will deal with them as he stomps away. Meanwhile, back at training, Brandy asks Derek if he is really sure about this, because our boy is shirtless, arms wide open, telling her to give it her all, offering nothing but a confident smirk and a simple "trust me." His biggest concern is ruining another shirt, not, getting sliced in half. So Brandy decides to go for it, powering up her sword with glowing blue energy, promising to hold back just a little before unleashing a massive slash. And the wave of magic flies right at a completely stationary Derek, who does not even blink as the attack is about to make contact. Thomas, on the other hand, is having a complete meltdown, rethinking this whole apprenticeship, as the energy wave slams into Derek with a huge splash, leaving Brandy speechless that it did not even break his skin, while Thomas is just in awe. And Derek just brushes off his chest, telling her not bad and to stop holding back. Brandy's face is pure focus, ready to unleash everything she has got, and with a final "I will not," she brings down a massive wave of energy. 10 minutes later, she is a panting, mana-drained mess on the ground. With one trainee down, Derek just calls for Tommy to take his turn, and our boy Thomas comes running, all bright-eyed and ready to go. Derek lays out the first lesson: pick a weapon and do your best to kill him. Thomas's brain just blue screens at the instruction, kill his hero. With a world-weary sigh, Derek reminds him he just tanked 30 wind blades, so chill out. This kid gets it, steeling himself with a new, slightly terrifying resolve. He makes his move, but Derek just sidesteps the attack like it is a joke. So Thomas goes full-on battle cry, charging in with a dagger, swinging with all his might right for Derek's side, only for the blade to just stop against his skin, doing 0 damage. Yeah, that attack did absolutely nothing, not even a scratch. Derek just deadpans that he missed a stationary target, which is just brutal, leaving Thomas to stammer out a pathetic apology. This response is legendary. Do not be sorry, be better, and Thomas swears he will. He tries again, lunging forward with renewed but still misplaced confidence. But Derek just grabs his wrist, bored, suggesting a new weapon while Thomas whines. That is a hard no. Derek reminds him of the rules and tells him to grab a spear. Turns out Brandy's attacks are just leveling up his magic resistance. What a great training partner. Meanwhile, Thomas is still absolutely terrible with daggers, bless his heart. Like so bad that Derek is getting a secondhand embarrassment headache. With swords and spears, though, he is actually pretty decent, so Derek starts hunting mobs for him to level up. He is also grabbing hides for Brandy's practice, basically doing everyone's chores now. And at night, they all eat together like one big, happy, slightly dysfunctional family. Grandpa pulls Derek aside, asking him to go easy on the kid. Turns out his dad used daggers too. Thomas, of course, is bragging to Brandy about how awesome he is getting. This old man just watches, knowing the kid just wants to live up to his father's memory. Finally, the big day arrives. Thomas hits level 10 and it is time to pick a class. Derek gives him one piece of solid advice: be smart, pick the best option, not the flashiest. Our boy gives a confident got it, which almost certainly means he is about to do the opposite, so he opens up his system screen ready to make the most important choice of his life. And for a second, Derek actually looks concerned, hoping the kid gets some good options. Without a moment's hesitation, Thomas makes his selection with a single click. A flash of green light confirms it, and Derek is just stunned he did not even ask for help, because he already knew what he wanted, now holding a brand new pair of daggers. Derek's face just says it all. He absolutely did not listen. This kid is ecstatic, shouting that he picked the rogue class just like his dad, and Derek is back to facepalming, asking if he really ignored rare classes just to copy his father. Thomas admits there were rarer class options, looking absolutely crushed. But he just could not help it. He remembered how cool his dad was. And Derek hits him with the coldest truth bomb. His dad is dead and he sucks with daggers. His mentor questions even taking him along, admitting he forgot he was still just a kid, which sends Thomas into a panic, grabbing Derek's leg and begging to stay. But Derek lays it out. How can he trust an apprentice who will not listen, especially with his secrets? This kid is just a sobbing mess, pleading for one more chance. So he makes a desperate vow, swearing on the system itself to keep Derek's secrets safe. And just like that, a magical contract forms, a binding oath until death. This penalty for breaking it is brutal: lose everything and be branded an oathbreaker forever. When asked why he'd do something so extreme, Thomas just sniffles that he wants to follow him. So Derek relents but warns him he is on his last strike. With the deal remade, he tells him to pack up for a dungeon trip to test that new loyalty. And meanwhile, a carriage rattles its way back toward the village. Inside, Wallace and his band of entitled knights are looking absolutely miserable, with one of them complaining about returning to the pigsty of a village charming. Another whines about getting the smell out of his hair because priorities, I guess. While a third knight just wants a proper welcoming party this time, the sheer audacity. Wallace, on the other hand, is just sweating bullets, clearly not sharing their vibe. And he finally snaps, screaming at them all to shut up, which totally fixes team morale. Wallace, ever the inspiring leader, tells his knights to stop complaining. Back with our boys, Derek and Thomas stand before a swirling green dungeon portal, and Derek's plan is to grind this level 25 dungeon before he levels out of it, which should be a perfect XP farm for the newly minted level 10 Thomas. Thomas, however, is still trying to understand why they are here at all. And Derek just smirks, reminding him they are here to clear it. Keep up, kid. This boy's brain just blue screens, asking how we are supposed to enter a level 25 dungeon. So Derek brings up that little secret-keeping oath, saying it is show and tell time. He holds the dungeon core right up to Thomas for the big reveal, and the system screen shows Derek is only level 18, which makes Thomas absolutely lose his mind because that is impossible. But then the gears start turning in his little rogue brain, and he gets hyped, realizing they can cheese every low-level dungeon on the map. Derek immediately crushes that dream with a grin, clarifying that he is asterisk just watching. And before Thomas can protest, they are zapped right into the dungeon. Trial by fire it is. They land in a classic spooky, dripping cave entrance, which opens into a lush jungle where Derek asks if the kid is ready. Thomas is understandably having some second thoughts about all this, but Derek reminds him about the fancy new daggers he has got, plus the custom armor from Brandy, basically telling him to stop being a baby. Derek lays out the perfect training plan. Either Thomas is tough or he is just healing practice, and Thomas just gulps, weakly agreeing that it is a win-win for someone probably, as his mentor leads him into the jungle, promising this is all going to be so much fun. This fun starts immediately with a giant dragonfly monster pinning him to the ground, followed by a massive beetle chasing him through the undergrowth as he screams, and then a giant centipede wraps around him for a lovely death hug. In a desperate panic, Thomas actually manages to stab one of the bugs while screaming for Derek, who finally swoops in, slicing the monster in half with one clean strike of his spear, leaving a traumatized Thomas on the ground asking what part of that was supposed to be fun. Derek just tells him to relax since he did not die, peak motivational speaking right there, and he checks on the kid's arm, which Thomas is pretty sure is broken, but a flash of green light from Derek's rejuvenation skill fixes it instantly. Thomas is just stunned, flexing his newly healed arm in disbelief, so Derek pats him on the shoulder and tells him to get back out there, no breaks. This look on Thomas's face says he would rather be literally anywhere else right now, but Derek just gives him a thumbs up while Thomas concludes his mentor is completely insane. A new challenger appears, a massive horned beetle, as our boy hides in the bushes, and he steels himself, thinking this is his chance to do something right, charging out of hiding with a burst of newfound, probably misplaced, courage. And the beetle's eye widens in surprise as it spots the tiny rogue coming right for it. He goes for a heroic strike and completely whiffs it, not even close, buddy, and from the sidelines Derek is just radiating pure unadulterated disappointment, so the beetle immediately punishes that mistake by smacking him into next week, sending him crashing to the ground with the wind knocked out of him. Towering over him, the monster looks ready to finish the job for good, but Derek's voice cuts through the panic, telling him to dodge, and he actually does it, getting a rare attaboy that seems to get him back on his feet, just in time for the beetle to line him up for another charge. This time he gets absolutely bulldozed by the horn, a full-on body check. But that custom armor from Brandy actually holds up, saving his ribs, which gives him just enough confidence to try and fight back. He manages to get a slice in on the monster's leg, a solid hit, and the beetle shrieks, finally feeling some damage from this tiny nuisance, giving Thomas the opening to climb on top and stab it right in the head. With the monster finally down, our boy just collapses, completely spent. He admits it was not pretty, but hey, progress is progress, right? Derek helps him up, then immediately starts the performance review. What was his first mistake? Thomas guesses he overswung on his first attack, throwing himself off balance. But Derek shuts that down, saying the real mistake was made before the fight even started. He is a rogue with a stealth skill, and the kid's face just breaks as he realizes he completely forgot to use his most basic class ability. Thomas's brain is just a mess of error messages trying to compute the existence of a stealth skill, and he just stands there, a lonely monument to forgotten abilities, before mustering up the world's worst excuse with a nervous little smile, admitting to Derek that he straight up forgot he even had it. Derek is absolutely losing it. He forgot the one skill from the class he chose against all advice, and our boy just gives a pathetic little yes, confirming his membership in the idiot club. Derek's internal monologue is just screaming that this kid is a complete and utter lost cause. Meanwhile, back at the village, a carriage pulls to a stop right outside the main gate, and someone important steps out, clearly not here for a friendly chat. A poor guard on the wall tries to do his job, asking them to identify themselves, only to get blasted into oblivion by a massive wave of blue energy. This attack slams into the gate, a very subtle "we are here" message. Villagers panic, with one recognizing them as the adventurers from before. Wait, no, this is a new group. A whole new crew strolls in, announcing they are reinforcements sent by the city lord. And their leader, a guy with glowing red eyes, says they are here to save them with the most punchable smirk ever. But a woman from the village is not buying it, powering up her own weapon in defiance, and melts a fence post with a warning shot just to make her point. Surrounded by a vortex of energy, she tells them their brand of help is not welcome here, ordering the group, Graceful, to get lost immediately. This red-eyed leader just grins, absolutely loving the challenge. This next training dummy is a giant spydrant, because nature's mistakes are now his problem. And Thomas is actually dodging, showing some real improvement out there. Because after days of this hell, he has finally hit level 17. Feeling his new power, he lets out a war cry and charges in, no more hiding, landing a direct stab right in the monster's face, which explodes in yellow goo. And for one glorious second, he is so proud of himself for finally getting it right. Then Derek yells, "Watch out," from off-screen, shattering the moment completely. As a second, much bigger spider ant rushes him while he is distracted. To make things worse, his dagger is hopelessly stuck in the first bug's head, leaving him totally defenseless as the new threat bears down on him, and he gets absolutely smacked into the dirt by a massive leg swipe. Lying on the ground, he just sulks about how well things were going for a minute there, immediately blaming his short weapon for getting stuck. Classic. This spirals into a full-blown identity crisis, deciding he is not cut out for daggers at all. Right as Derek appears, casually spinning the freed dagger like it was nothing. But instead of an "I told you so," Derek just heals him, admitting he has become a new fighter. And with a sly grin, he says Thomas is finally ready for what is next. Before them stands a massive temple crackling with lightning. The boss room awaits. So Derek gives him one last reminder of the plan. Stealth headshot, do not mess it up. This huge stone doors swing open, revealing a blinding light in the final test. Inside the boss room, a massive energy scythe comes swinging, but Derek just casually bats it aside, saving a stunned Thomas, revealing the final boss is a giant praying mantis, which our boy is pretty sure he cannot kill. So Derek changes the plan with a grin. He will be the tank, Thomas just needs to land the kill shot. With that, he rockets forward, a blur of blue energy, grabbing the monster midair in a full-on tackle, and with a savage look, he prepares to bring it down hard. He absolutely pile-drives the bug's head straight into the stone floor, pinning it down and telling Tommy the rest is all him. Our boy steels himself, ready for the final blow, rushing in with his dagger held high. He plunges the blade right into the monster's weak point, a perfect strike. And the beast's massive scythe arm goes limp, finally defeated. Its body dissolves into light, leaving behind the dungeon core, followed by the glorious system message, "Dungeon boss defeated." Thomas is over the moon, celebrating his first clear and freedom from this training hell. Derek congratulates him, then immediately adds that it only gets harder from here. Classic Derek. He even admits he planned another run, but Thomas was too slow, so they will head back. This kid is just speechless, trying to process that little jab, staring at his mentor who is just casually holding the loot. With the dungeon cleared, Derek just stares at Thomas, asking what on earth he is doing, and our boy is just kicking the monster's corpse, admitting his dagger is stuck. Peak rogue gameplay. As they are teleported out, the system grants him a new skill, Cure Toxin, along with an achievement for his first clear, netting him 2 whole skill points. Back in the real world, Derek asks if he is ready to go, and Thomas just nods, completely spent. On the walk back, Derek drops a casual "I told you so" about the dagger class, and Thomas finally caves, agreeing to switch. His mentor then offers him a gently used spear since the old owner will not be needing it anymore. But something makes Derek's expression completely freeze in shock, because as they approach the village, they see smoke rising and the main gate is wide open. A sudden downpour starts as Derek realizes something is terribly, terribly wrong. Just then, massive energy blasts tear through the air right past them, and Derek sprints into the village, screaming for Raina and Mallory. He finds one of them, Raina, knocked out cold on the ground, while Mallory is in critical condition with only 13 minutes left to live. Thomas rushes in right behind him, completely panicked by the carnage. Derek immediately starts healing them both, assuring the kid he has fixed the worst of it. He gives Thomas a quick pat on the head, ordering him to stay put, but our boy is terrified, asking where his mentor is going. With his eyes glowing with purple rage, Derek says he's going to find who did this. And elsewhere in the village, the woman who stood up to Graceful is already down. This Graceful leader is done playing games, blaming the defiant woman for everything. So he sentences her to death for disobedience, a real class act. One of his goons raises a sword to carry out the sentence, but the blade is stopped cold by a purple barrier. Derek's arrived. His face is already bloody as he reminds them of his one simple rule, and now that they have broken it, he promises to kill every last one of them. Wallace completely loses his cool, screaming for his crew to take him down, but Derek just stands there radiating pure come-at-me energy. A woman from Gracefall takes the bait, lunging in with daggers drawn, and without even flinching, he swings his spear in a massive arc, sending her flying with a single brutal strike. This leader is absolutely stunned that his minion got one-shotted, his shock turning to pure rage as he powers up with fire magic. A massive fireball forms in his hand while he screams he will burn Derek to ash. Then he launches the giant ball of fiery death right at him. This attack tears through the village square in a massive explosion, detonating in a huge cloud of smoke and debris. This defiant woman's motivation flashes by. It was all for her sister. Wallace and his goons stare into the flames, wondering if he is actually dead. But a pair of glowing purple eyes stare right back from inside the inferno. Derek walks right out of the fire, completely untouched by the flames, and Wallace is having a total meltdown, screaming for his men to kill him already. One of the archers actually listens, firing an arrow straight at him, but Derek just snatches it out of the air like it is nothing. This archer's face is pure unfiltered regret, so he immediately decides to bail, scrambling over a rooftop. That escape plan is cut short by his own arrow returned to sender. His body just tumbles off the roof, one down, more to go. Just then the villagers rush in, trying to stop Derek's rampage. And an old man named Richard pleads with him, saying they are nobles. But Derek is done talking, reminding him they had their chance. That chance, he says, is now long gone. Another goon charges in, sword raised for a killing blow, only for Derek to stop the blade with his bare glowing hand. This attacker is just frozen in shock, unable to process this, as purple energy cracks the very steel of his weapon. With a final push, the sword shatters and Derek impales him with the hilt. He does not even break stride, stepping over the body to face the rest. Wallace is absolutely losing it, calling his men useless, which I mean he is not wrong. So he powers up with blue flames, ranting about his superior blood. He just smirks, activating a new skill called Channel Void, which erupts in a massive blast of purple energy, and in an instant he has got Wallace dangling by the throat. Suddenly, the noble is begging for his life, promising he will leave forever, and Derek just coldly agrees he will never see him again, which is not a good sign. Then immediately tightens his grip, choking him out. All that superior blood talk has been replaced by some very pathetic tears. But then a new voice screams for him to stop. They have got a hostage, as the woman from before holds Richard with a flaming hand to his neck. This old man pleads with Derek, warning him of the severe penalty for killing nobles. Derek just stares back, looking thoroughly unimpressed by this development, while the woman taunts him, telling him to do as he is told. Richard explains that the entire village could be executed for this, so the woman screams one last time for him to drop Wallace, right before a sword bursts clean through her chest from behind. It is the village chieftain who calmly tells them to go ahead and try it, pulling his blade free as he declares that a leader protects his people. With the hostage situation handled, Derek turns back to his own problem, asking Wallace to swear there will be no retaliation if he lets him go. And of course, the guy immediately agrees to anything, survival first, spine optional. Derek just says good, his expression chillingly calm, so naturally he snaps the guy's neck, promise kept technically. Richard is just staring in pure shock, unable to believe it, and the old man is convinced Derek just signed everyone's death warrant. Standing over the corpse, Derek offers the world's worst excuse: my hand slipped. That defiant woman he saved is still on the ground, looking rough. So he goes over to her, gently lifting her up. Then he just scoops her up into his arms, carrying her through the crowd of terrified villagers. Meanwhile, Richard is still having a full-blown panic attack about it. A silent crowd just watches him carry the woman away. His destination, a large building, probably the chieftain's residence. This chieftain then snaps everyone out of it, ordering them to clean up the mess, and the whole village gets to work trying to put out fires and clear debris. Later, inside the chieftain's home, Derek watches over the resting woman. She is resting peacefully now, tucked under a warm blanket, and our boy just sits by her side, lost in thought. Suddenly, a system window appears with a single command: watch. Turns out killing nobles gives a ton of XP, completely wrecking his training plan for Thomas, and he has to be the only player in history actually mad about leveling up. Classic Derek. This woman he saved finally stirs, calling out his name. And she is immediately panicked, asking if the village is okay. Derek just calmly reassures her that the village is safe. So with a huge sigh of relief, she collapses back, thanking him, and he plays it off like he did nothing, claiming they all just spontaneously died. What a legend. But she grabs his wrist, dead serious, reminding him they were nobles. Her face pure terror as she spells it out: if anyone finds out, they are all dead. So Derek just holds her hand, his solution basically being do not get caught. He has already got a plan, telling her to ensure everyone stays quiet or else. Just then, the chieftain leads a group of villagers inside, reporting that the bodies are hidden and the drivers swore a system oath of silence. Derek thanks the chieftain Leon, planning to stash the evidence in his inventory, problem solved. Meanwhile, Richard is still having a complete meltdown over the whole situation. This old man just full of regret, wishing Derek had let the noble live. Derek cuts him off, saying he has a plan, but he cannot do it alone, explaining he will need the help of everyone in the room, but then he corrects himself with a dead serious look, because he is going to need the help of the entire village for this. He asks Richard for a timeline, who figures they have anywhere from a few days to a few weeks. Derek just hopes for the best, because he is definitely gonna need that time. Derek lays out the first step, a village-wide meeting to get everyone on the same page, and the official story is simple. The nobles came, got a map, and left for a dungeon. They were barely even here. That is the alibi everyone needs to stick to. Richard's precious map is the sacrificial lamb, a small price for their lives. But next up, he needs system oaths from the inner circle. And Leon, the chieftain, immediately questions why that is necessary. It is the same deal Thomas got, a vow of total secrecy about Derek's abilities, but Leon flat out refuses, citing his honor and what he has seen Derek do. Richard backs him up, also preferring to keep his options open. So the woman he saved, Mallory, asks for a promise in return for her oath. He promises to protect the village to the best of his ability, and with that, she is in. Another woman says she will do it, no oath needed to protect a friend's secrets. And her little sister agrees too, saying if Thomas did it, so can she. Derek thanks the three women, Mallory, Brandy, and Raina, for their trust, then turns back to Leon and Richard, accepting their refusal for now. And just like that, the system confirms their oaths are locked in until death. With the loyalists secured, Mallory asks what the master plan is, and our boy just smirks, ready to unveil his genius, probably terrible idea. This plan starts with a fairy tale version of events. The noble graciously gets the map. Then he and his crew supposedly rode off to a level 100 dungeon, a perfect excuse for never coming back. This official story begins. The noble heroically stopped a dungeon overflow, fighting off hordes of undead to contain a deadly plague. But tragically, his team was wiped out by the dungeon boss, and the noble himself barely escaped, only to bleed out alone. A true hero's death, making the ultimate sacrifice for the greater good. Or at least, Derek smirks, that is what the official report is gonna say. This room is just dead silent, everyone processing this absolute work of fiction, before collectively losing their minds over how insane this plan is. With the story set, he gathers the women, telling them to pack for a few days, but Brandy's confused why a level 50 dungeon and not the level 101 from the story. Derek just smiles, saying they will hit the big one when they are stronger, and this is a golden opportunity for them to get stronger and snag some loot. Besides, he's got a few theories about this new system he wants to test, specifically how pre-level 10 experiences can influence future class options. If his hunch is right, little Raina could unlock a seriously special class, but Mallory's still not sold, asking why they are just grinding low-level dungeons. He just hits her with a wink, telling her to trust the process, promising to basically power level them through the easy stuff. To speed things up, he just starts picking up Raina, hoisting her onto his back for a piggyback ride, much to her confusion, and he is off, literally carrying the team on his back while Raina complains about the commute. As the whole crew sprints towards the sunrise, off on a brand new adventure. Their destination, a level 50 beast dungeon, looking ominous as ever. Brandy's legs have already given up on life, much to Mallory's annoyance. So Derek reminds them about that little oath they took. Time for the big reveal, and everyone touches the portal, getting ready to dive in. This party screen pops up, showing a wildly unbalanced team roster, and Raina immediately loses it, realizing Derek is a lower level than her, which makes zero sense. He just smirks, confirming this is one of his biggest secrets and she is not getting answers today. Then with a grin, our boy activates the portal. It is grinding time. They are instantly warped to some kind of desert safe house inside the dungeon, where Derek takes a quick peek inside, ready to lay down the law. He gathers the team, announcing the master plan for this little excursion, which in adorable chibi form starts with him beating monsters to within an inch of their lives, then dragging their broken bodies back for Thomas and Mallory to get the final hit and all the XP. He gives Thomas a very pointed look, ordering him to pick any class that is not daggers, while Raina, being a higher level, gets to be his wingman out in the field. But he gives her a clear escape route if things get hairy, safety first. So Brandy, our level 1 rookie, eagerly asks what her important job is, and Derek just deadpans that her job is to do absolutely nothing. Welcome to the team, kid. Brandy, however, is having the time of her life with her do-nothing job. But before they start, Derek asks Mallory if her spear is really her best weapon, and she admits it is a hand-me-down since the good gear went to stronger warriors. So Derek just dumps an entire armory on the floor, telling her to pick a new one. This whole crew is stunned, immediately geeking out over the high-tier loot. and our boy just smirks, casually mentioning he never even used most of it. He hands Mallory a fancy new polearm, a serious upgrade from her old one, which even has retractable blades that pop out with a button press. Thomas, seeing all the freebies, immediately asks if he can get some daggers, but Derek's response is a death glare and a hard no. The kid gets a spear. With everyone geared up, he gets Reyna, his field partner, ready to go, and the two of them step out of the safe house to start the hunt. Outside, a whole welcoming committee of demonic beasts is waiting for them. These things looking absolutely furious, growling and ready to attack. Derek just grins, telling Reyna this is going to be fun, and the monsters immediately charge, kicking off a massive stampede. Reyna gracefully leaps over the front line, dodging the initial assault, while Derek barrels straight in, clocking a beast right in the face. He then drags the dazed monster back inside, presenting it to the team, and Thomas steps up, ready to land the final hit. The XP farm is officially open. This XP farm is a chaotic success, with Thomas already trying to steal loot from Brandy, while outside Reyna and Derek are just a blur of absolute carnage, until Derek's just chilling on a mountain of monster corpses. Mission accomplished, one final gory slice later. And just like that, Mallory and Thomas both hit level 25, so Derek gives them a proud clap, telling them to pick their new classes. Thomas is practically vibrating with excitement over his options, because the system just offered him a rare class, Soul Spear. It is a super cool-looking projection class all about piercing damage, but he hesitates, thinking about his dad and his daggers. Mallory reassures him that his dad would be proud no matter what class he picks, then reveals she got an uncommon growth class called Ohm's Fury. This basically turns her into a strength-based demon with a big stick. Not bad, and Derek is just beaming, his little power leveling plan working perfectly. He knew all they needed was a little push, or a god-tier carry. Then he finally checks his own status, wondering how much he leveled up, only to find a level 25 class upgrade notification waiting for him. Oh right, he completely forgot he hit that milestone back when he murdered those nobles. So with a smirk, our boy accepts his own class upgrade, and his champion of the Void class evolves, flooding him with a ton of new power. Derek gets two new skills, hoping they are not as hilariously bad as his last one. And the first is Void Shift, a fancy way to phase through reality, basically a teleport, followed by Void Sense, a passive radar for everything around him. So he can teleport and has built-in wall hacks, which sounds pretty broken. And without a second thought, he just smashes that Learn Skill button, causing the power to surge through him, making his eyes glow with void energy. His new Void Sense kicks in, connecting him to the entire space around them. And the guy clenches his fist, absolutely loving this new power-up. But he decides to save the teleport test for later, not wanting another Void Call incident. Meanwhile, Reyna is grinning, totally ready for round 2 of monster mashing, and Thomas is also way too excited, nearly taking Mallory's head off with his new spear. With the B-team hyped up, Derek and Reyna head back out for more carnage, immediately diving back into the fray as a fresh wave of beasts roars to meet them. Reyna moves like a blur, gracefully dodging claws and teeth, while Derek, on the other hand, just uses a tree as a springboard for a flying attack. He comes down like a meteor, crushing a monster flat into the dirt, and after clearing the mobs, they catch their breath, knowing only one thing is left. This two of them share a look. It is time to take on the dungeon boss. Right on cue, a massive axe-wielding demon stomps into view, its eyes glowing with pure rage, ready to turn them into a fine red mist. This boss is a level 65 behemoth named Ironhoof. This should be fun, and Derek immediately tells Reyna to head back, deciding to solo this one. With his partner safe, our boy squares up against the giant, void energy crackling. Then he smirks, taunting the beast that this fight is totally unfair. Because Derek has some brand new toys he is just dying to test out. Ironhoof does not appreciate the banter, swinging its massive axe with full force, but the attack just smashes into empty dirt as Derek easily sidesteps. Time to try out that new skill. He activates Void Shift with a grin, and suddenly the entire world shatters into a frozen purple void. Derek is just standing there, completely baffled, wondering if he just stopped time. So he looks over at the boss, now a giant ice sculpture mid-swing, asking if he is okay. Yep, the big guy is definitely frozen solid, not just chilly, but frozen in time. Then he notices little portals floating all around him in this weird space, and naturally he just has to poke one to see what happens. A hand immediately pops out of the portal to poke him right back. What the hell? He yelps and jumps back, completely caught off guard by the phantom hand. But then a light bulb goes off as he looks at his own hand. He opens a portal, sticks his arm through, and realizes he has basically got the portal gun now. His own hand pats his head from another portal. This is gonna be fun to master. Right before a mana warning pops up, oh crap, this skill is a gas guzzler. He quickly deactivates Void Shift, snapping back to reality, just in time to see the axe obliterate the spot where he was standing. Ironhoof is just standing there, utterly confused by the disappearing act. while Derek pops up behind him with a smug "missed me," loving this new power. This boss, now absolutely furious, charges in for another massive swing, its axe coming down like a guillotine right at our boy's head. But again, it just smashes into empty air. Derek reappears, now glowing green, telling the beast he is not done playing. He activates his meditation skill, probably to get that mana back from his portal shenanigans. And with his energy restored, he taunts the boss, ready for another round. So he fires up Void Shift again, plunging them back into that frozen purple world, where the boss swings wildly and Derek just blinks behind him. Classic. Ironhoof turns, absolutely seething with rage, but Derek is just calm, waiting for the beast to leap for a slam attack before opening a portal at his feet. He just sinks into the void, completely vanishing from sight, leaving the boss to smash its axe into nothing but dirt again and again. Derek keeps popping in and out, landing quick slashes from every angle, basically playing whack-a-mole with the giant demon who cannot keep up at all. This relentless teleporting assault is just too much for the big guy to handle, and finally Ironhoof is brought to its knees, completely exhausted. Derek comes down with a final decisive slash, and with the boss dead, the level up screen pops right on cue. His reward is a scroll of restoration, which is, okay, I guess. He is pretty underwhelmed since it was just a low-level dungeon after all. Mallory, however, got a scroll of resurrection and she looks devastated, because if she'd had it sooner, she could have saved someone named Travis. Derek just grimaces, thinking the system has a sick sense of humor. Meanwhile, Thomas is whining about his lame scroll while Reyna got a new skill. Brandy, on the other hand, got a contract scroll for taming a beast. A dangerous idea immediately sparks in Derek's mind. He flashes back to that psychotic, fluffy, horned bunny that tried to murder him. And despite the trauma, he is absolutely 100% considering it. So he awkwardly asks Brandy if he can possibly have her scroll. She is just thrilled to give it to him, no questions asked. Mallory tells him not to be embarrassed. It is the least they can do to pay him back. Our boy is genuinely touched, admitting he is not used to people being nice. She just tells him to get used to it because they are friends now. With that settled, they head to the next dungeon, no breaks allowed. This system announces their entry into the next challenge. Dropping Derek and Reyna into a level 50 fire dungeon, things just got serious. This new dungeon is filled with angry lava crabs, lovely, and Derek just tells Reyna to lead the way, same as always. So she summons a light spear, ready for a fight, and so begins the great power leveling montage with Derek just slamming through everything. While Reyna moves like a dancer, her blade a blur of blue energy, her skills leveling up with every monster she cuts down. Even Mallory gets in on the action, slicing through mobs with a flaming sword, while Thomas just goes nuts, stabbing everything in sight with his new spear. Next up is a level 45 feathered dungeon swarming with angry bird monsters, where Derek's contribution is to casually ride one while his meditation skill levels up, peak efficiency. Thomas, meanwhile, is actually fighting with Brandy as his personal cheerleader from below. Then it is on to a level 55 underwater dungeon, complete with a giant shark monster. And our boy immediately gets himself inside its mouth because of course he does. Reyna is absolutely panicking, screaming his name from her little safety bubble, as the giant shark swims along, probably pretty happy with its meal, until it starts feeling a little indigestion, and Derek just explodes out of it, laughing like a maniac as his skills level up again. After that, they land in a level 50 flower dungeon, taking a much-needed breather, with Reyna wondering where all the enemies are in this pretty field. And the dungeon is more than happy to answer with a giant, terrifying plant monster. 3 days into their power leveling marathon, the B team is still going strong, and Brandy is amazed she is not even sore after non-stop dungeon clearing. Derek just smirks, welcoming her to the wonderful world of stat padding and meditation. Speaking of which, he has got a boatload of his own points to spend, pulling up his stats to find a ridiculous 618 unspent points. Yep, this is basically cheating. A greedy thought hits him. Maxing out strength and dexterity will unlock another free skill. Cue the daydream of him as a sparkly, speedo-clad bodybuilder doing the splits. Thomas is concerned, so he dumps all his points, hitting 500 in STR and dex and unlocking 2 new skill slots. Our boy immediately flexes, feeling that sweet 500-point strength. Time to pick his new toys, and he immediately rejects glass cannon, not his style. He also skips rapid movement, since his teleporting makes it pretty useless. That leaves a few options, mainly area of effect versus single target attacks. After some thought, he decides sweeping slash is an absolute must-have. He remembers a similar skill from his old life, which means he can probably merge it. With his choices made, he is ready to grab sweeping slash and multi-strike. He smashes the learn button, acquiring both skills in a flash of blue light. But then a new notification pops up. His old dormant skill is merging with the new one. This system announces a successful merge as he tells everyone to back up, leaving Reyna totally confused by the sudden surge of energy around them. As a massive scythe of pure blue power materializes in Derek's hands, Derek smirks, announcing he has something new he needs to test, so he tells the team to give him some space, wielding his brand new energy scythe. Blue lightning arcs across the weapon as he prepares to swing, and with a primal scream, he unleashes all that pent-up power. This new sweeping slash carves a massive arc of pure energy through the air, which then erupts into a pillar of light that splits the very earth. His friends can only stare, absolutely stunned by the insane display. All that is left is a glowing crater and a very satisfied Derek. With that little test out of the way, he declares them ready for the undying dungeon. Elsewhere, a grim-looking lord eats alone in a massive, empty hall, clearly not enjoying his meal, lost in some very dark thoughts. This man finally asks if there has been any word from his son. A servant reports the last message came when he was near the village. This news makes him stab his food with some serious pent-up aggression. He then calls out for his knight, a guy named Bronson, who immediately stands awaiting his lord's command. This order is given through gritted teeth. Find his son now. Back with our crew, they have arrived at the level 100 Undying Dungeon. This whole squad steps into the creepy new zone, and Derek notes it feels different. After a quick huddle, he tells them he is going in alone, they can just wait for the rewards. So it turns out the whole squad is coming along, huddling up for the jump. And the system gives them the classic 3-second countdown. They land in a massive, creepy hall, but Derek's already separated from them, telling them to stay put because these mobs are way out of their league. With his team safely benched, our boy steps out into a massive, spooky graveyard. He finds the whole graveyard aesthetic very fitting for the occasion. And right on cue, a bony hand erupts from the dirt to say hello. Derek just cracks his knuckles, complaining about how annoying skeletons were in his old life. Then an entire army of level 100 skeleton warriors rises to greet him, followed by a swarm of level 98 vampire bats for good measure. Our boy just sighs, already dreading how many levels this is gonna give him. What a chore. This first skeleton warrior charges, leaping in with a massive overhead swing, but Derek dodges, preparing a counter of his own, except this time he is not fast enough and the skeleton actually lands a hit. Its sword smashes the ground and Derek realizes these level 100s are the real deal. Okay, the kid gloves are off, his eyes flare blue as he decides to get serious. A crackling ball of blue energy gathers in his hand, unleashing that brand new sweeping strike of his. This follow-up is a supercharged punch that just shatters the skeleton, and with the monster shattered, the level up screen pops instantly. Our boy just yoinks the skeleton's core, no big deal, then starts spinning up a vortex of pure blue energy, which he unleashes as a barrage against the bat swarm, and each blast just vaporizes another monster out of the sky. Another level up pops, but he senses a new threat from below. Skeletons burst from the ground trying to skewer him midair, and they actually get him, swords right at his throat for a second. He just freezes them solid, thinking this is not so bad after all, feeling pretty confident he can handle this overflow state dungeon. A sudden groan makes him immediately regret that thought, because the skeletons are just putting themselves back together, which is totally cheating. This entire boneyard army is back on its feet for round 2, but a light bulb goes off. He remembers using Channel Void on that first one, and that particular pile of bones is still very, very dead. A wonderfully evil plan starts to form, complete with a psycho grin, so he leaps into the air, summoning a massive void energy blade. He brings the giant purple scythe down on the entire undead army, which erupts in a massive explosion of pure destructive power. And the level up notifications just start spamming his screen. Standing in the aftermath, he tells the remains to stay dead this time. Derek just cracks his neck, totally ready for round 2, and the dungeon is happy to oblige with the whole graveyard rumbling, as the ground itself starts to shatter under his feet, revealing a whole new wave of glowing green ghouls. These are level 112 acidic ghouls, a definite upgrade in annoyance. A big horned one leads the charge, looking particularly grumpy. Our boy just smirks, saying he was wondering when they'd show up. He summons a new energy spear, crackling with purple power, and the entire ghoul squad rushes him at once. So he unleashes a massive pillar of light right into their faces, channeling a ridiculous amount of destructive energy. His new multi-strike skill absolutely vaporizes the horde, instantly leveling him up. In fact, the level-ups just keep coming, hitting level 50 with a class change prompt. He is a little surprised since he basically just did that, but as he is distracted, the monster parts start to reform, and a massive new ghoul boss materializes right behind him. Derek, meanwhile, is just admiring his new system perks. Priorities, man. This boss brings its giant blade down for a kill shot, while Derek just floats aside, complaining that nothing stays dead here. And right on cue, the whole undead army starts getting back up again. A clock tower chimes ominously as a fiery figure descends. Yep, it is boss time, and Derek just smirks, finally understanding why nothing stays dead in here. Meet the culprit, a flaming chained-up skull who looks personally offended by his presence. This system confirms the big bad is a lick perched on his tower like an edgy gargoyle. Down below, the ads are still swarming, with this ghoul getting way too close for comfort. All the shattered skeletons start pulling themselves back together, glowing with ominous red energy. One of them literally reattaches its own arm, and Derek is just so over this gimmick, so he delivers a void-powered punch straight to its stupid skeletal face. Then follows up with a kick, complaining he does not even get X for re-killing them. With the trash cleared again, he points his spear at the lick, asking if they can finish this. He is pretty sure his team is getting bored waiting on him, so it is time to wrap it up. This lick responds with a very eloquent die, floating down to join the fight itself. At its command, the entire undead horde charges our boy at once. Derek meets them head-on, spear crackling with that familiar purple void energy. He unleashes a whirlwind of slashes, cutting through multiple ghouls in a single pass, putting that new multi-strike skill to devastating use. To make sure they stay down, he activates Channel Void, no more respawns for this batch. This lick actually looks surprised that its minions are not getting backup this time. In response, it starts charging a massive ball of fiery energy between its hands, unleashing some kind of red and green power, probably to summon even more friends. This lick powers up its minions from atop the tower, and Derek is just so done with this whole revival gimmick. He declares no more, charging in with a void-powered spear, slicing clean through one of the lick's robed lieutenants. That slash does not stop, cleaving the entire clock tower in two, but something actually catches the blast midair. Turns out it is Derek just casually absorbing his own attack. With its perch gone, the whole tower comes crashing down. Our boy stands over the fallen lick, who is clutching its glowing phylactery. A close-up on the shiny little soul jar, the source of all his problems. Derek just stomps on it, calling the lick an idiot for wearing it like jewelry. He then gives a free lesson on basic villainy: you hide the phylactery. With the boss dead, he checks his stats, hitting level 50 and another class change. He calls out to his team, opening the door for them to come out. They step into the aftermath, completely stunned by the devastation. This red-haired girl, however, is just thrilled about the cute bat monster parts. Derek flashes a peace sign, announcing Phase 1 is complete. This system confirms the clear, doubling the rewards for being the first 2 storage rings. His teammate is absolutely floored, since storage rings are apparently a huge deal. As the team marvels at their loot, Derek just looks confused about his own reward. Derek looks at his new ring, casually asking if it is any good. And his teammate is absolutely losing her mind. Dungeons just do not give out rewards like this. Another guy celebrates as more rings literally rain from the sky. But the squad leader worries if this sudden wealth will bring disaster instead of prosperity. Our boy just scoffs, since this thing's storage is a joke compared to his own bracelet. Thomas, on the other hand, is thrilled he can finally hoard more monster parts. This red-haired girl immediately puts him to work collecting all the valuable corpses, and his friends realize this power means their village does not have to live in fear anymore. With renewed purpose, the squad leader steals her resolve, while Derek just winks, finding it adorable that they consider this a big deal. He is just imagining their faces if they saw his personal pocket dimension, which has a whole person in it. After finishing the cleanup, the girl tries to bargain for a cool new item. But Derek interrupts, announcing Phase 2 requires one of their new rings. He knows it is a big ask, promising a massive return on their investment. This squad leader does not even hesitate, just handing one over like it is nothing. And though Thomas is reluctant, Derek's sparkly anime smile wins him over. With all their rings combined, they start channeling a massive surge of red energy, which zaps the source of the dungeon's corruption, a giant evil-looking tree. Thomas looks around, confused why the forest is still all creepy and dead. But the leader explains they only stop the poison, healing is gonna take a while. Derek just ruffles Thomas's hair, telling the kid to be patient, because now it is time to do what they actually came here for. His hand begins to glow with an intense blue light, and the rest of the team is absolutely horrified, shielding the younger girl's eyes. He is propping up the corpse of that traitor Wallace, planning to make him look like a hero. Our boy literally tells the dead guy to sit up straight because presentation matters. Then he summons some ghoul acid to add a few authentic wounds, which sizzles right onto the corpse's armor for dramatic effect. He even plants some empty potions nearby to complete the "he fought hard" story. And for his reward, the dead guy gets 2 of the new storage rings. Standing back proudly, Derek asks the team how his morbid little art project looks, and the squad leader is so impressed she makes a mental note to never ever cross him. This final product is Wallace, the fallen hero, staged perfectly against a dead tree. He even added acid dripping from the mouth for that extra touch of authenticity. Derek just pats a very disturbed Thomas on the back, offering zero apologies for the trauma. Several days later, the sun rises over their home village. As the team walks back into town, the red-haired girl happily runs off to see her grandparents. This whole squad is buzzing with energy, prompting the question of whether Derek is even human. A teammate expresses his relief that the village is still standing, mentioning he needs to check in with Leon. While walking through the streets, Derek and the girls are suddenly met by an armored man. This red-haired girl is practically vibrating, demanding her level 10 class change, and immediately bolts to go check her options, leaving the others behind. Derek just smirks, revealing this was his plan for her all along, thinking about all the unique experiences she has had, and all the high-level monster parts she has handled before even hitting level 10, so he is betting the system will offer her something special. While she pores over her class options, Derek just chills on a bench, glad she is taking it seriously, at least more than Thomas did. With some time to kill, he decides to check his own class upgrade, which is now Legend of the Void, a legendary class with 25 skill points. Our boy is absolutely thrilled, especially since it comes with two new skills, including Absolute Nullify, a skill that just eats any magic, basically an I win button. This other is Void Storage, which is kinda lame, but he is not complaining. Now for the fun part, he gets to check his newly boosted stats, hitting 500 intelligence and wisdom to unlock the magical glass cannon achievement. This nets him a new active and passive skill, so he immediately picks up Chain Lightning, which lets him fry a whole crowd of test dummies at once, while his new passive, Physical Assistance, basically makes him a magical tank. Derek lets out a very satisfied sigh, feeling the power-up, and leans back, thinking his friend Richard's worries were completely pointless. Just as he is relaxing, the red-haired girl asks for his help with something, showing him her class options where she is torn between two choices. This first one is called Talon's Protege, which sounds a little suspicious. It is an epic rarity leatherworking class complete with a flashy spirit guide. A quick flashback shows she was so shocked by the offer she dropped a whole plate of food. Her mom is absolutely ecstatic since an epic class is a huge deal for anyone. But here is the catch: as a protege, she can never surpass her master. Derek gets it instantly, she'd be stuck in someone else's shadow forever. Her mom, however, is still stuck on the epic part, completely ignoring the fine print. Our boy just smirks, knowing the system rewarded her unique experience just like he planned. Then she reveals the other choice, a rare growth-type class called All-Smith. Its description is just become an all-smith, super helpful, thanks system. With zero other info, she has no idea which path to take. Derek and her mom offer the classic just follow your heart non-advice, and she is thoroughly unimpressed, calling them both useless. Closing her eyes, she has to make the tough decision on her own. Her mom just watches while Derek looks like he has seen this movie before. A sudden flash of pink light confirms she has finally made her choice, which is apparently so intense it makes her faint as her mom yells Brandy. She wakes up on the ground a moment later, completely dazed. Brandy wakes up on the ground with her mom and Derek hovering over her, and she immediately confirms she got the skills from her new class. Derek's mind races, guessing she got maybe 3 or 4 new tricks. She just sits up and casually drops the number 42. Then we get a sudden flashback to a terrified farmer and his equally scared bull. This poor guy is just frozen in place, absolutely petrified by something off-screen. An armored knight strolls past and they exchange a very tense good day. Turns out it is the traitor Wallace back in his hero of the people phase. He is looking over the village, complaining about having to clean up another mess. This scene snaps back to Brandy's big moment, the memory still fresh, replaying Derek's total shock at her announcement. Her triumphant answer echoes in his mind, a game-changing 42 skills. An hour later, Derek's at a bar, realizing his hunch about her potential was spot on. He is imagining her future as an all-smith, a one-woman army and crafting guild. She will be forging enchanted weapons, mastering runes, the whole deal, and even whipping up accessories, potions, and stat-boosting food. His first thought about this incredible power is that it is absolutely terrifying. But then, a much more important thought pushes its way to the front. She can finally learn to brew beer that does not taste like it was filtered through a boot. He chugs the current swill as the bartender roasts it, getting a sarcastic comeback for his trouble. Just as Derek's enjoying his drink, Thomas bursts in screaming his name, and the bartender is still refusing to serve him when the kid finally arrives. Thomas is completely out of breath, stammering about a man from Torith with a big sword, while the bartender just tells him to spit it out already. So Thomas explains there is a gold-ranked adventurer in the village. This new guy is a walking tank, currently chatting with Brandy's grandpa, and Derek's face immediately darkens, realizing this is probably trouble. From a distance, they watch the armored man talking with the village elders. Then the stranger starts walking right toward them, making everyone nervous. Derek tries to use Identify, but the skill completely fails on this guy, which means this dude is seriously high level. He tells Thomas to get back inside. The adults are talking now. Our boy steps out into the street to meet the armored warrior head-on, getting ready for what he calls a good old-fashioned standoff. He immediately opens with a zinger about the guy's massive sword, asking if he is compensating, but the warrior just glares, asking if Derek really wants to find out. Derek is just bummed his joke did not land, lamenting the lack of culture in this world. This guy introduces himself as Bronson of the Graceful family, demanding to know who Derek is, then threatens him, saying he should teach his kid some manners before he gets killed. Bronson adds that the chief already warned him about Derek and now it is too late for apologies. Derek plays dumb as Bronson reveals Wallace is missing, probably dead, which Bronson finds strange since the guy must have cleared the dungeon. He explains the area's disease has lessened since it was cleared, admitting he could not do it himself at only level 65. Our boy feigns surprise that the bratty noble actually had it in him. Now Bronson wants to see the place, asking Derek to lead the way. Derek sees his opening, offering a deal with a very punchable smirk, and the big knight is immediately suspicious, asking what kind of favor. Turns out he just wants a tour guide when he gets to Torith, a surprisingly small price. So they head off into the woods, straight for the glowing dungeon entrance. Bronson takes one look at the scene inside and immediately curses, kneeling by the body, totally buying the he fought hard story, while Derek just says bummer. And there is the masterpiece Wallace, the fallen hero, looking tragically noble. Bronson decides to take the body back, using some kind of storage magic. He is already thinking about the report from Master Graceful and the guild's interest in those rings. Walking back, Derek casually asks if all the Graceful nobles are as noble as Wallace was. But Bronson just sighs, admitting Wallace was a conceited jerk who could not live up to the name. He adds that everyone expected Wallace to get himself killed, just not by saving people. The irony is thick. Derek just sweats, agreeing with a yeah, who knew, while his inner demon is probably loving this. Bronson ends with a whole speech about Wallace's sacrifice, hoping it inspires everyone and the con is a total success. Back with Derek and Bronson, a massive pillar of purple energy erupts from the woods, which sends the armored knight flying back in total shock. His mind flashes back to him yelling about a wicked creature just moments before, but now he is just completely bewildered by what he is seeing. Turns out Derek is just trying to get a tiny horned rabbit to sign a contract. And Bronson is having a full-blown meltdown over wasting a rare scroll on a bunny. Our boy just shrugs, saying he likes the bunny priorities people. This system confirms the contract is a success and the rabbit is now named Sylvie. Next up is the bonding process, which will give Sylvie a whopping 25% of his stats, and Derek's totally cool with it until the system asks him to share his blood. He is immediately grossed out, calling the system a vampire, a fair question really. With a sigh, he bites his own thumb to get the ritual started, and offers the bleeding digit to the tiny rabbit as Bronson loses his mind in the background. A beam of dark energy shoots out, initiating the soul bond, blasting Bronson again while he screams about how this could cripple Derek's soul. Derek just gives him a casual shrug, completely unconcerned with the screaming. Suddenly, the little bunny stomps its paw, unleashing a terrifying wave of power. And a dark voice echoes through the void, simply saying, "Hungry." Our boy freezes, hearing a voice in his head ask if they are going to kill the human, while Sylvie radiates pure menace, thinking about how chewy meat is good. Bronson's pride is absolutely shattered, screaming about the bunny's power level while Derek just cackles. Later that night, a traumatized knight sits by the fire, smoking and contemplating his life choices. And then he witnesses it, 3 bunnies cheerfully roasting a giant boar over a campfire. This gold-ranked adventurer just cannot process this scene, scratching his head in total disbelief. Derek just chills, asking what, like this is the most normal thing in the world. With a shaking hand, Bronson points out the obvious, the bunny is cooking. Our boy casually explains he bought her the skill for 2 points, a bit pricey apparently. Bronson's brain completely short-circuits, demanding to know why he would do that. One dead-eyed stare from Derek is enough for him to take it all back. Of course he did. Changing the subject, Derek asks for one of the storage rings they found on Wallace. He needs to give it to Sylvie, who is currently setting their dinner on fire. As the burnt boar falls into the dirt, Derek wisely suggests passing on her first attempt. Bronson just mutters that maybe he should have been the contracted beast instead, a new low for him. This next day, they walk back to town, a defeated knight trailing a man and his demonic rabbit. Derek tells him to hit the tavern, saying he needs to catch up with some people first. His first stop is a quick lecture for Sylvie, whose immediate thought is, can we kill everyone? Derek has to clarify the rules, no killing humans unless he gives the okay. This bunny is extremely disappointed but stomps her foot and agrees to behave. Elsewhere in the village, Thomas is training with a spear as Brandy works at a desk. Thomas is the first to spot him, yelling out that Derek is finally back. Derek strolls in, announcing he is back with a new friend, and he introduces Sylvie, his bonded beast, to a very impressed Brandy and Thomas. Sylvie, meanwhile, is just soaking it all in, thinking, yep, I am awesome and cute. Derek then drops the bomb that he is leaving on a long trip tomorrow, which immediately sends Brandy into a panic, asking if he will ever return. He kneels down, promising he will because he cannot just abandon the master crafter. Then his tone gets serious, warning her to keep her new skills a secret from predators. Through her tears, Brandy promises she will be smart about everything. But Derek's inner monologue is way less wholesome, vowing to erase anyone who tries to hurt her. Turning to Thomas, he tells the kid to pack his bags and say his goodbyes. He gives the village one last look, hoping his trip will be a quick one. Later at the tavern, he is sharing a meal with the still traumatized Bronson, and Derek immediately starts poking fun at the knight for not liking the local food. Bronson clarifies he is not a noble but a guard captain and a butler, a weird combo. At the same time, Sylvie pops up to inspect the meal, which Derek admits is barely edible. This little bunny takes one bite, looks utterly disgusted, and asks if they can cook better. With a perfect deadpan smirk, Derek informs her it is already cooked. This revelation sends Sylvie into a state of pure existential horror. This bartender chimes in, sarcastically apologizing that the food is not up to their standards, but Derek just raises his mug, saying the food's awful but the dungeon rewards will bring people in. Derek casually tells the whole tavern the dungeon drops storage rings, much to Bronson's shock, and he just shrugs, saying he likes the villagers and wants to give them a leg up. Bronson's mind is completely blown as a dark aura seems to radiate from Derek, flashing back to our boy's glowing eyes and the sheer weight behind his words. Derek just sips his drink, calling it a friendly heads-up while Bronson sweats bullets. This next morning, the sun rises over the quiet village, signaling it is time for Derek and Thomas to finally depart. He says his goodbyes to the townsfolk with Sylvie at his side. Meanwhile, Thomas gets a classic grandma lecture about packing clean underwear, much to his horror. His grandparents pull him into a tight hug, reminding him he is still their boy, and overcome with emotion, Thomas starts crying, saying he will miss them. This village chief then shakes Derek's hand, calling him a weird but good guy. Just as they are leaving, Brandy runs up with gifts for both him and Sylvie, proudly presenting a custom-made cloak for the little bunny, and Sylvie is absolutely rocking her new, magical-looking outfit. For Derek, Brandy made more of his favorite weird shirts, which he holds to his face, genuinely touched and calling them perfect. Brandy's mother then steps forward with a basket of her own, revealing a huge stash of food for their long journey. This act of kindness awakens something in Sylvie, a new culinary purpose. Sylvie's eyes gleam with a singular, terrifying purpose: biscuits. Brandy's mom offers some road snacks, which Derek happily accepts, but the demonic bunny immediately launches a full-scale assault on the carbs. A moment later, a very satisfied Sylvie burps, having devoured the entire basket while Derek just dies inside. Another villager, a woman in pink, wishes them well on their journey, pulling him into a hug and thanking him for saving them all. She even hints that some of them might want to join his party next time. Our boy just gives a cool guy point, promising he will be back for sure. With that, he grabs Thomas and they head for the exit, ready for the big city. And who is waiting for them but Bronson, their long-suffering tour guide? Thomas is completely starstruck by the sight of the city ahead. And yeah, Torith is a massive, sprawling capital with a castle to match. Down in the bustling streets, a vendor hawks some questionable meat on a stick, which immediately activates Sylvie's primal hunger. She needs it now. Derek is just amused by her one-track mind as the bunny telepathically screams for food, so they all grab a skewer while Bronson warns them about mystery meat in the lower city. Derek then notices how everyone gives Bronson a wide berth, asking why. This knight explains that only the worst nobles ever come down here, usually to cause trouble. His words conjure an image of a particularly nasty-looking noble threatening someone, and Derek just smirks, thinking of a certain spoiled brat he knows all too well. Bronson warns them they are entering the middle-class section, so try not to cause a scene. A guard immediately recognizes the knight, who gives a polite "all's well" response. Derek takes in the sights, thinking it is not so different from the villages. His thoughts drift to the massive social gap between the rich and everyone else. Without Bronson as their VIP pass, he knows they'd be kicked out instantly. Meanwhile, Thomas and Sylvie are just happily chowing down, completely out of place, and that is when a devious little idea pops into Derek's head. He casually calls out to Bronson, all smiles and innocence. Complaining that the street food was not enough, he suggests a fancy restaurant he wants to try. This place is the Crown Restaurant, deep in the heart of the Noble District, of course. Inside, a woman with striking red hair is being served a steak by a nervous chef. This woman compliments the food and the chef nearly collapses with relief, but their quiet meal is shattered by someone kicking the door in, and two guards immediately step in to block Derek's group, telling them to scram. Bronson tries to physically restrain Derek, begging him not to cause trouble here. From the top of the stairs, the red-haired woman asks what all the noise is about. One of the guards points a finger, saying Derek is causing a scene and they are handling it. She completely ignores the guard and greets Bronson, asking after someone named Walter. Bronson confirms Master Walter is fine, while Derek mentally scoffs at the understatement. Her attention then shifts to our boy, sizing him up with a curious look. Derek just waltzes right past the guards, introducing himself to the manager. and the red-haired woman is completely unfazed, confirming she knows who he is, inviting him to her office and revealing she's been waiting since he met her hunter. Then she calls out to one of her guards, a guy named Benito, telling him to seat Derek's friends and put their meal on the house. Bronson is floored. Once they are alone, our boy gets right down to business, summoning a present from his inventory, which turns out to be the massive corpse of the void beast he killed, and the sheer scale of the monster completely fills the room, leaving the woman absolutely speechless, her eyes literally sparkling with dollar signs. She asks to inspect it with a knife and Derek casually gives her the green light. After a quick slice, she declares the specimen immaculate and asks how he got it. But Derek just calls it a trade secret, more interested in what she will pay for it. She needs a couple of days to contact her superiors but implies it is worth a fortune. Our boy agrees to wait but makes it clear he is keeping the hide, already imagining the awesome armor Brandy could craft for Thomas. This woman offers to store the beast for him, which is perfect for freeing up Derek's inventory. With that settled, she declares they have an interim deal, and they shake on it, both looking pretty pleased with the arrangement. Just as he is leaving though, Derek stops at the door with one last thing to add. She just looks on coolly, waiting to hear his final request. Derek leans in with a smug grin, asking if she has ever heard of coffee. This woman is just completely baffled by the random business pitch. Meanwhile, Bronson is having a full-on meltdown over the sheer amount of food. Other patrons are just staring, wondering how this is even possible. Down on the floor, Thomas is groaning, completely stuffed after the feast. But Sylvie is in absolute heaven, vowing to master this level of cooking. A waiter even brings a fourth order of venison directed straight to the bunny, and the little demon just inhales it, much to the server's abject horror. Derek finally returns, casually asking if they ordered enough, the master of understatement. He mentions the Void Beast deal is still pending, which sends Bronson into another panic. Our boy just tells them to get up, promising to explain everything on the way. With his crew in tow, he announces it is finally time to meet Bronson's boss. Their destination is a massive, sun-drenched estate looking very official. Inside, Bronson stands before a stern-looking man at a large desk. He formally announces his return to his superior, Master Graceful. This master just waves a hand, impatiently demanding the report. Bronson confirms the grim news: young Master Wallace has passed away. With a heavy sigh, Graceful admits he feared this would happen. His eyes narrow, immediately asking if foul play is suspected. Through the window, Bronson stands ready to deliver the rest of his story. Master Graceful just glares, telling Bronson to get to the point. And Bronson argues that Wallace would never have risked his life like that. It is totally out of character. Graceful's eyes narrow, demanding to know exactly what he is implying. This knight lays it all out. Wallace must have offended someone powerful who wanted his death to look heroic. He confirms the grim theory. Wallace was murdered by one of the strangest, most dangerous men he has ever met. And that very man is currently chilling in their guest house. Graceful is not happy. Meanwhile, said dangerous man is having a full-on shower concert complete with soap microphone. Turns out his shower is being powered by two very confused mages, who are freaking out that their strongest attack is not even scratching him. Derek just belts out another line, absolutely vibing with the magical water jets. He even has the nerve to ask for more pressure, wanting a massage, the absolute madman. Now the mages understand Bronson's warning: whatever you do, do not make this guy mad. Fresh and clean, Derek strolls out in a towel, still humming his tune, but he pauses, sensing someone nearby. It is just Thomas, also in a robe, explaining Bronson dropped off clothes while Derek was with the guards. Derek just smirks, asking if Sylvie got a bath too. We then see Thomas talked her into it, and they are both chilling in a tub full of rubber duckies. A pampered Sylvie, towel on her head, connects being clean with getting more food. Our boy just chuckles, admitting her logic is flawless. Thomas then passes on a message: Master Graceful wants to have dinner with them tonight. Derek strolls off, towel-clad, with a food-obsessed Sylvie on his shoulder. And outside, Bronson is already calling them for their dinner with Master Graceful. This knight immediately notices our boy is not wearing the formal clothes he provided, but Derek flatly refuses, explaining he is wearing his absolute best t-shirt and least holy jeans. He then threatens to just dine at the Crown instead, which makes Bronson instantly surrender. At the mere mention of the restaurant, Thomas and Sylvie are hyped for a repeat performance. Meanwhile, back at that very establishment, the red-haired manager stares into a communication crystal, trying to work up the nerve to make a report to her boss, a woman named Stella. After a quick pep talk, she finally steels herself to make the call. A nervous gulp reminds her of the void beast mess she has to explain, so she activates the orb, formally addressing her superior. This voice on the other end, Stella, is overwhelmingly sweet, laying on the compliments thick, which completely flusters the manager, who tries to deflect the praise. She insists Stella does not look a day over 20, and Stella just eats it up. Turns out Stella's class has a powerful charm effect, forcing people to agree with her even remotely. Pushing past the weird flattery, she finally gets to business, the contract with Derek. But Stella just sighs, wishing people would call her for a friendly chat for once. She casually approves the Void Beast contract for a certain Derek Hunt, her interest piqued. This manager then brings up the other potential deal, that strange beverage Derek introduced, and she describes coffee like a divine revelation, an incredible drink of energy and focus. Stella's voice lays out the coffee deal. Derek gets 3% of all profits and unlimited personal use. And our boy is already fantasizing about the mountains of gold he is about to make. Stella then tells her manager to treat Derek well, even hinting at a future membership. This manager agrees, but she suspects Derek is about to make some serious waves in the city. She is worried he will attract the attention of the city lord Malcolm and that they will not get along. And from the looks of this Malcolm guy, he is a real piece of work. Stella gives her manager, Alana, the green light to help Derek if she thinks he is a good person. Meanwhile, Bronson explains the dinner setup. Derek gets a private audience with the boss. He opens the door and it is time for the main event. Derek steels himself, ready to face whatever's waiting for him inside. Bronson leads him into the massive, very empty dining hall. At the far end of an absurdly long table sits Master Gracefall, all alone. After a quick introduction, Gracefall dismisses Bronson with a wave of his hand. He then invites Derek to take a seat, all calm and collected. Our boy sits, not looking the least bit intimidated by the whole display. This two of them just stare each other down across the table, and Gracefall finally drops the bomb, asking if Derek is the one who killed his son. Derek just listens, his face giving absolutely nothing away. Then he just bursts out laughing, completely shattering the tension. Master Gracefall is absolutely fuming. This is not the reaction he expected. Derek explains his laugh. Bronson deserves an Oscar for that performance, and Gracefall cuts right through it, asking if he is admitting to the murder. Our boy sees no point in lying since the man's already made up his mind. Then with a dead serious look, he just drops the confession, "I killed your son." Instead of rage, Gracefall just sighs, asking what his son did to provoke him. Derek scoffs at the idea, saying personal insults meant nothing to him. But his eyes flashed with fury. Wallace crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. He reveals the truth. Wallace beat a young girl and her mother nearly to death, and was about to execute Derek's friend for trying to protect them. A wave of dark energy erupts as he declares House Gracefall would be dust if he'd been a minute later. Gracefall calmly counters with his own magic, doubting it would be that easy. Which earns him a grin from Derek that just screams, "Wanna bet?" In a flash, Gracefall teleports right behind him to prove his point, only for Derek to appear behind him, casually saying he could manage. This master of the house is completely stunned as Derek blinks back to his seat. And now back at the table, Derek suggests they eat since no one has to die tonight. He then gets curious, asking why Gracefall is not more upset about his son. This old man admits he is angry, just not at Derek. His anger is aimed at himself for failing as a father and raising a monster, and he even says the heroic lie Bronson told will redeem Wallace's memory. Gracefall drops another bomb. He is actually thankful to Derek, which leaves our boy completely baffled, barely managing a "you are welcome." But the old man has one question that has been bugging him, and it is simple. Derek is way too high level for that dungeon, so who actually cleared it? Derek dangles the answer, but it'll cost Gracefall a magical oath to hear the secret. This master of the house is willing to play ball as long as the terms are not too severe. So Derek lays out his conditions: total secrecy and no using the info to harm him or his people. Gracefall just stares for a moment, weighing the very reasonable proposal. And he accepts, admitting he has made far worse deals for a lot less. He makes it official, swearing a formal oath to the great system, light show and all. A system notification confirms the stakes. If he breaks this promise, he loses all his powers. With business handled, Derek casually asks what Gracefall knows about legendary classes. This old man admits he knows basically nothing, just that they are real and impossibly rare. With a smug grin, Derek reveals Gracefall is looking at one right now. This completely floors Gracefall, who immediately wants to ask some questions. Our boy just gives a casual shrug, totally non-committal about it. This first question is a big one. What are the requirements for getting one? Derek explains the core concept. If you want a legendary reward, you have to live an extreme life. He gives an example. A legendary swordsman has to basically become one with his blade 24/7. And a legendary water mage would have to spend her life submerged before she even gets her class. Derek's philosophy is simple: to get a legendary class, you have to be an absolute zealot. So Gracefall wants to know if this is a tested theory or just Derek's personal brand of crazy. Our boy admits there is one other person, and he is scouting this city for their sake. Gracefall guesses it is Thomas, who is busy losing a tug-of-war with Sylvie over some food. Derek just laughs that off. Thomas is great, but he lacks the required level of masochism. But Gracefall gets serious, warning him this city is a terrible place to settle down because of the city lord. He admits his own son was rotten, but this city lord Malcolm is apparently 100 times worse. And we get a glimpse of this Malcolm, a classic Nepo baby who has never earned a thing in his life. This old man explains Malcolm is basically a spoiled child who will try to take anyone special Derek is protecting. So this city is a no-go, and Graceful suggests a place called Savannah instead. It is a massive, wealthy merchant city with a ruler who actually cares about her people. Derek just smirks, adding Savannah to his to-do list for after he is finished here. Speaking of which, Graceful warns that a meeting with Malcolm is pretty much guaranteed. Our boy just sighs, completely unsurprised, as Graceful asks what is on his mind. And Derek's big dilemma is whether it is funnier to offend Malcolm by ghosting him or to his face. Graceful is just baffled, asking why both paths lead to pissing the guy off, to which Derek gives the most perfect, smug grin and asks, "Have you met me?" With dinner concluded, our boy makes his way to the massive dining hall doors. Stepping outside, he calls out for Thomas and Sylvie, asking if they are ready to go. He smiles, telling them to get some rest, because tomorrow is gonna be a big day. Thomas is having a wrestling match with the door, trying to drag something through, and Derek is just so over it as Thomas grunts about a stupid bunny. And there she is, Sylvie, in a deep food coma, getting dragged across the floor. Thomas, completely winded, announces they are finally ready to go, while Sylvie is living her best life, basking in a post-feast glow, zero regrets. This next morning, Graceful's man thanks Derek and offers him a place to stay, but Derek turns him down, saying they want the boring inn experience. He quietly admits the real reason: his crew would get way too spoiled. With a final wave, the gang says their goodbyes to the Graceful estate, and our boy leads his crew off into the city, ready for whatever's next. They make their way down into the sprawling, unfamiliar streets. Finding themselves in a lively town full of bustling market stalls, Thomas asks if Graceful is a good guy, and Derek confirms he is trustworthy, which prompts Thomas to ask what he told Graceful about his son. Derek just smirks, revealing the old man already knew the truth, and this sends Thomas into a full-blown panic attack right in the street. So Derek has to physically shut him up before he draws a crowd, explaining Graceful knew his son was a monster who had it coming. In fact, Derek thinks the old man is basically an ally now, and with that settled, they finally arrive at an inn to get a room. Derek slaps down some coin, asking for 2 rooms, but the innkeeper says there is only one left, which our boy reluctantly accepts. This clerk hands over the key with a grin that is just a little too smug. Derek swings the door open, with Thomas and Sylvie trailing right behind. They step into their humble new lodgings for the night, and immediately spot the problem: a single bed for the 3 of them. Without missing a beat, Derek sentences Thomas to the floor, no questions asked. He then announces he has got errands and tells the other 2 to go have fun exploring. Tossing Thomas the key and a pouch of gold, he sets them up for a day on the town. With a final wave, Derek heads out, leaving them to their own devices. But he pauses at the door, giving Sylvie a silent, serious command to keep Thomas safe. She agrees, confirming Thomas is her mount, because he provides the food, of course. Out on the street, Derek has a moment of doubt, wondering if they will be alright. Then he scoffs, realizing Sylvie is a one-bunny wrecking crew and the only real danger is her causing trouble. A flash of pure, unadulterated chaos runs through his mind, the worst-case Sylvie scenario. He just massages his temples, hoping for the best but probably expecting the worst. Suddenly, something down the street catches his attention. And yup, that is an adventurer's guild if he has ever seen one, dragon skull and all. Inside is the usual scene: rowdy adventurers, cheap ale, and arm wrestling matches. One guy tries to compliment his opponent with a big word, only to get yelled at for it. Classic. A couple of adventurers check the quest board while a brawl breaks out behind them, just another Tuesday at the guild. And Derek strolls right in, completely ignoring the background chaos, immediately getting clocked by some local tough guy for his modern-day t-shirt. This bully holds his victim up, trying to look intimidating in front of the new guy, warning Derek to just keep on walking. But our boy heads straight for the counter, where the receptionist tries to turn him away. He just casually asks to register as a platinum adventurer, the highest rank possible. This, of course, sends the entire guild into a fit of laughter. What an idiot, right? Just as the receptionist is about to shut him down, a guy in gold armor steps in to handle it, explaining that platinum ranks are only handled in the capital. Sorry, kid. Derek just scratches his neck, sighing like this is a huge inconvenience, and settles for gold instead. And cue round 2 of the entire room laughing their asses off at him. This gold-armored dude gets real serious, saying you have to earn a gold badge through a test. With a world-weary shrug, Derek is just like, "Yeah, whatever, let us do it." This instructor facepalms, already regretting this, and calls it Derek's funeral. He leads our boy to the training area where the big dogs get to spar, and we see a glimpse of the action: a giant of a man absolutely wrecking someone. This instructor calls out to this mountain of muscle, a guy named Russell, who has just finished his warm-up by knocking his partner into next week. Then comes the introduction. This is Derek, and he is here for the gold rank exam. Russell the Giant sizes Derek up and is not impressed at all. This instructor explains Derek was aiming for platinum but has to settle for gold. This mountain of a man just scoffs, calling him a pipsqueak and telling him to get in the ring. But before the fight, the instructor stops Derek for some quick paperwork. It is the classic "we are not liable if you get turned into a fine-paced waiver," which Derek speed reads. With the legalities handled, our boy strolls into the arena ready to go. This big guy cracks his neck, offering Derek 2 free shots. Peak arrogance. Derek is so not in the mood for this, telling him to shut up and fight, and the instructor just facepalms, already knowing this is going to be a mess. Taking that as a personal insult, Russell powers up and charges in. He throws a haymaker that could level a building, which Derek casually blocks with one hand, stopping him cold. Then with a single backhand slap, he sends the giant flying. This entire guild just stares, completely stunned by the one-hit KO. His opponent is left with a perfect handprint on his face, wondering what just happened, while Derek just stands over the crater, completely unfazed by the whole thing. He turns to the instructor, asking if he can get that gold badge now. Cut to the office where Derek is still waiting for his badge, looking bored. This terrified instructor explains there is one more rule: he has to clear a silver quest first, so he nervously presents a massive, trembling binder full of available missions. Derek tells the fawning instructor to just be quiet so he can pick a quest, and after a moment he points to a page, deciding this is the one. This guy warns him it is a week-long trip to a remote area, but that is exactly what Derek wants. With a confident smirk, he accepts the mission and heads for the door. Back in the main hall, everyone is still whispering about the new powerhouse. And when asked if Derek passed, the instructor just stares blankly and confirms he did. The man is broken. Now outside, Derek telepathically reaches out to Sylvie, his expression serious as he asks if she can hear him. She pops into his mind and he smiles, asking for her location. And where is she? A pastry shop, of course, burning through all of Thomas's money. Derek just laughs, telling her he is leaving town and she needs to watch Thomas. She agrees to protect her mount since he is the key to more food money. Our boy tries to set some ground rules about sharing food, which is just adorable. But Sylvie gives a very unconvincing fine, and Derek knows it is a lost cause. With that settled, our boy powers up outside the city walls. A burst of energy sending him rocketing towards the distant mountains. A journey that takes normal people a week, he covers in about an hour, just a light jog for him. Now in the forest, he is ready to find these toadcaps and get this over with. Suddenly, a tiny mushroom creature peeks out from behind a bush. And Derek sees the little guy, surrounded by a sparkly aura of pure cuteness, and is momentarily disarmed. But the cute act lasts about 2 seconds before Derek is harvesting them for his quest, and with a final toss, he has got all 15 missions accomplished. Now for the fun part, since he is out in the middle of nowhere with no witnesses. On a remote cliff, our boy prepares to do something ridiculously extra. His eyes glow as he unleashes his void call, which summons a massive beam of purple energy from the heavens. This beam strikes a distant mountain with incredible force, and something comes crashing down to earth in a blaze of glory. Derek looks absolutely thrilled, ready for whatever's coming. A massive demon appears to be descending from the portal, making a suitably dramatic landing with a huge crash. This summoned creature strikes a pose, looking all big and bad, but Derek is just staring at it, completely baffled, because it turns out his epic summon is about 3 feet tall. This pint-sized demon roars and charges with all its might, only to get stopped by a casual karate chop to the head. He just pats the little guy, already thinking about its resale value, deciding he will farm a few more while hoping for a real fight. He daydreams about a real challenge, a monster that could actually push him. So with a sigh, he powers up to try the summon again, fingers crossed for a bigger one. He unleashes another void call, this time with way more juice, and the sky just rips open in a massive flash of power. Derek grins, seeing more cracks in reality, which means a bigger prize. This portal shatters under the sheer strain of the summon, and a much bigger, battered demon comes bursting through. This thing makes a grand entrance, descending like a vengeful god. It is absolutely massive, towering over the entire cliffside. This demon glares down with a face full of teeth and way too many eyes. Derek just cracks a smile, finally getting the fight he wanted. But the demon turns its head, noticing something on the ground. Our boy is just completely confused by the sudden pause. Turns out it is stepping right over the first little demon he code. This giant gently picks up its tiny unconscious buddy and sets it down carefully like it is tucking it into bed. Then it turns to Derek with pure, unadulterated rage in its eyes. Its voice booms, absolutely furious with our boy, roaring about how dare he harm the little one. It lectures him, saying he cannot control the power he is wielding. Derek is just standing there, completely speechless at this family drama. He just awkwardly apologizes for the surprise talking, asking what it wants to know. Derek just shrugs, saying he thinks he's got a pretty good handle on this void stuff. This demon absolutely loses its mind, roaring that our boy is an ignorant fool. It continues the lecture, warning him he is playing with forces beyond his control. And now it has to rectify the mistake of him bopping its tiny friend. Derek just grins, sarcastically asking if this is where he gets a legendary master, already daydreaming about a Karate Kid training montage with the little demon. So he gives a mock bow, asking the great master of the void for guidance. This giant monster is just not impressed by the trolling whatsoever. Its answer is a hard no, followed by a simple promise to kill him. With that, the demon charges forward, ready to turn him into a smear. But Derek counters with a massive void beam of his own. This demon just powers through, winding up a punch to shatter the blast, and slams the ground right where Derek was standing a second ago. It flashes a nasty grin, thinking it has already won this fight. This monster gloats about how conceited humans are surrounded by floating rocks, only to look up in complete and utter disbelief. Because Derek is just chilling on a floating rock, having turned the whole area into his personal void dimension. This demon finally realizes he is not fighting some amateur void user. Our boy just shrugs, admitting he is still kinda new to using his powers on the outside. That is the last straw for the demon, who unleashes a storm of attacks, screaming he has to die. Derek dodges a volley of void beams, looking a little stressed. He is forced to sprint across his own voidscape just to stay alive. This demon's attacks crisscross the battlefield like a deadly light show, and one finally connects, slamming our boy right into the ground. Towering over him, the monster prepares a massive finishing blow, bringing both fists down with absolutely devastating force, which leaves Derek pinned in the crater, actually looking hurt for once. This demon keeps up the pressure with another huge energy slash, but with a little spark on his finger, Derek's already got a new plan. He starts gathering power, preparing a serious counterattack, even as the demon hurls more void projectiles straight at him. Wiping some dust off, Derek admits the big guy packs a punch, and has a sudden epiphany he must be absolutely terrifying to fight. His opponent is just baffled, asking why he is laughing at his own demise. Derek just smirks, saying it is not his death he finds so funny, his eyes glowing as he promises the demon it is yours. With that, he rockets forward to meet the monster's charge head-on, manifesting some slick new energy claws from his hands, then leaps into the air, ready to close the massive distance, and get up close and personal with his brand new toys. Derek plunges his new void claws right into the demon's back. An aura of pure void energy just erupts from him. Then he throws a massive punch straight into the monster's chin, and the impact sends the demon flying, slamming it back down into the crater, completely wrecked. In the pouring rain, Derek walks over to the defeated beast. This demon just looks up, begging him to end it, which totally catches our boy off guard. He had no idea they could talk. It explains that he is an enemy to their kind and his summons are a compulsion, and Derek, a little beat up himself, asks what he is not controlling. This demon just ignores the question, again demanding to be killed. Derek knows he cannot let it go since it would just hunt him to the ends of the void. So with a small smile, he ends it, admitting it was a good fight. With that done, he has got his quest items and 2 new void beasts for Stella. Now on his way back, he telepathically checks in on Sylvie, and she is on Thomas's head, who's got literal heart ties for some girl. Sylvie is not amused. Thomas is literally chasing a girl through the streets, with Sylvie calling him an idiot mount. Derek just laughs, warning Sylvie not to let Thomas get his storage ring stolen. He then has to clarify, "Wait, do not kill her," and gets a very reluctant fine from Sylvie. Finally, our boy arrives back at what looks like the guild hall. Back at the guild, the master is surprised to see Derek again so soon, but our boy casually announces the quest is done, leaving the guy speechless. This guy stammers out an apology. That quest was supposed to take a week. And for all that trouble, his reward is 2 whole gold coins. Wow. This real prize, though, is his official gold adventurer's badge, which he just needs to inject a little mana into to make it officially his. With business done, he leaves the guild hall as a big guy mops the floor. And his next stop is the inn to check on Thomas and Sylvie. Over dinner, he casually brings up the new friend Sylvie tattled on him about. And Thomas immediately gets starry-eyed, gushing about a girl named Alicia. Apparently, she is super helpful, even offering to get him his adventurer badge. But Derek's face darkens, warning him that Sylvie sensed something shady. Thomas, of course, insists she is kind, and Derek just pities his innocence. He just tells him to be careful and then dips, leaving Thomas with the bill. This next morning, Derek arrives at a fancy-looking place called The Crown, strolling right in to meet with Stella, asking if he is too early. Stella says he is right on time, adding that she has a surprise for him, then asks him to sit and close his eyes, and he just goes with it. He takes a deep whiff of a very familiar aroma, and it is coffee. Stella reveals her botanist made a prototype just for him. Derek takes a sip, and the man is in absolute heaven, but his verdict is in not bad, though he has got some notes. Suddenly, he is a master barista giving tips on brewing. And his coffee TED Talk covers roasting beans for a bolder flavor. This lesson concludes with personal taste, milk, cream, sugar, the works. Stella diligently takes notes for her chefs, looking way too amused by this, so our boy has to correct her. They are called baristas, thank you very much. Apparently where he is from, coffee is serious, serious business. With the coffee lesson over, Stella finally gets to the real point, sliding over a premium offer from her employer for the void beasts. Derek sees the number 25000 gold and does a literal spit take, his void powers flaring up as he asks if that is a typo. Meanwhile, back with our favorite idiot, Thomas is on a lovely date. He's bought Alicia ice cream with Sylvie judging hard from his head. And when Alicia calls him Tommy, the boy is just completely melting, totally oblivious as she makes her move, touching his hand. And there it is, she is smoothly sliding his storage ring right off his finger. Sylvie is absolutely livid, calling him a big idiot telepathically. So she takes matters into her own teeth, biting him right on the head. Thomas yelps, asking what is wrong, completely clueless about what just happened. Alicia is laying it on thick, calling Sylvie mean for biting poor innocent Tommy. With the ring safely pocketed, she makes a run for it, waving goodbye to the sucker. Back at the Crown, Stella tries the new coffee recipe and immediately spits it out. It is strong. After recovering, she finally sees the second void beast on her table, and Derek smugly explains it is a freebie, a little goodwill gift. Intrigued, Stella pulls out a knife to take a closer look, slicing into the creature to test its quality. She tastes a single drop of its blood from her finger, and her eyes go wide with absolute shock. Derek has no idea what is happening, asking her what is wrong, while she frantically tells him to store the beast immediately. He starts to, but she stops him, saying she cannot accept it until he knows its true worth. She explains that normally a whole void beast meal raises a stat by 1, and Derek is just waiting for her to get to the point. This bombshell drops that one taste just permanently increased her vitality. It finally clicks for our boy, this worthless baby is actually a jackpot. Elsewhere at a gorgeous estate, a white bird flies in for a landing, delivering a message to a very elegant woman who is definitely in charge.